I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is a Finance Committee meeting. Today's Tuesday, October 10th. It's 7 o'clock. We're in room 21 on the second floor of Town Hall. Roll call. Everyone is present with the exception of Al Cafferty, who did email earlier or text that he was going to be either very late or not at all. So we have previous minutes from September 19th to review that were emailed in advance. Reserve fund stands at $35,000. Public forum. Welcome, gentlemen. We have two members of the Board of Selectmen. This is a chance for anybody that has something that's not on the agenda. Do you guys have anything that you want to bring up in that forum? Okay. All right, so new business. We're going to be talking about the special town meeting, warrant article recommendations, and this is our only opportunity, if we want to have our recommendations printed in the warrant, to make our recommendation and vote them tonight. Other new business, ARPA utilization, and old business, we have our meeting recording status, posting approved minutes, and our standing subcommittee reports, and the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District audit as another standing line item. Other business communications, we don't have any communications. Mary Beth, you can sit right up here if you like. I thought you could sneak right in, didn't you?
I did.
I think I see your initials on the back of that.
I think so.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
All right, we're just going over the agenda. And the last part of the agenda, I did put upcoming meetings to get us to the end of the year. So we will be starting to meet with department heads. We'll be sending out emails to lock down these dates. And in advance of that, special town meeting will be our next meeting on October 30th. Okay, so that's our agenda. So I would say, why don't we hold off on the meeting minutes and we'll see if we can get Mary Beth on her way. No reason for her to go through that. And we'll get right into our new business item, which is the special town meeting. And we'll start right on Article 1. Does everybody have paper copies, electronic copies, everything they need? Do you guys need an agenda, or do you have the warrant in front of you? Okay. So Article 1 says, see if the town will vote to transfer $1,317.21 from the excess amount originally appropriated to reimburse the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District for the construction of a parking lot at the rear of the Duval Elementary School. That was authorized under P1 of the warrant of the special town meeting held on July 27th, 2020. And this to payment of the following prior fiscal year bills. Plymouth County Sheriff's Department, $896. NBM, $221.75, and Andreas Police Supply, $199.46, or take any other act relative thereto. Was proposed by the police chief, and we have backup in here for this article. Mm-hmm. And again, this warrant article and the accompanying backup was emailed in advance, so you did have a chance to look at it. Does anybody have any questions on any of the prior year bills? John?
Just a general question. All of the smaller amounts of money to be voted on in these articles is based on the school district returning money from articles that they have taken care of and have a surplus of?
I can address that.
Go ahead.
Certainly. Yes. So this is very common whenever a project is finished for an article. Whatever's remaining gets certified back to the accountant as excess. So the John Stanbrook sent a letter and said they really put through quite a few articles towards the end of the year. Really in two groupings, one of them very close to June 30th. And when they got those in, I got them paid right away for them. And then he sent a certification, said I'm all set. So I was thinking, where are we getting money? Free cash hasn't been certified yet and for this meeting. And I am always opposed to using money from our regular stabilization account. So I had a discussion with the accountant, and she said, yes, once they're certified, If you want, you could use that money as a source of funds, and then anything that you don't use would wash back to free cash. But that's eventually. So this is a way that we could get to that money right away. The school was completely done. John said, I'm certifying these as excess.
Okay, and I guess a general follow-up. Do the town departments, are they responsible for alerting the accountant for projects in their own area?
Whoever, co-signed on that article, whoever brought that article forward, once they're done, they usually do, from what I understand, let the accountant know when it's complete.
Okay.
So the DPW, you'll notice when we get down to Article 14, 15, they found several articles that they were done with, or the job was just about done, and so they released all but a small amount. And we put that by bond counsel, and bond counsel said that's perfect. But before the accountant would even entertain that, Dennis Smith at the time had to certify to the accountant in an email that yes, these are excess funds, the project, we've expended what we need.
Okay.
So if because you said we can get to it quicker, if we didn't have a special town meeting coming up, what would it just go through a process of certifying and then wind up back in free cash, all
Correct.
this stuff?
Correct.
Yeah.
Eventually it would. Yep.
Okay.
And I know that last year, I think it might have been last year, free cash wasn't certified, so articles at the special, we used stabilization or capital stabilization and then backfilled it. I just don't want to get in that habit.
Yeah.
I personally.
Right, it's like taking money out of your savings account,
Yeah.
paying all these bills.
Then you got to remember to put it back.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Doesn't always get back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you get
Best
unless
intentions.
you get some people keeping an eye on it.
Backfilled it with this year's levy. Is that how we
Free cash.
we backfilled it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we took free cash and
Yeah.
gave it there.
Okay, good questions, John. Yep, so that's the
Overspent
general,
by law, so we had to get it somewhere, right? So it would have been the stabilization and a plan too. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm just going in my head. I have to see it. I apologize.
okay. All right, so further questions on Article 1?
I just want to make one statement, and I made it the other night at the Capital Committee. As a member of the Capital Committee, and there's a couple of us here tonight, we have a charge from Article 33 of 2 years ago that was supposed to put together a report, we're supposed to put together in the report stating what the capital needs of the town are. And my first reaction, Mary Beth, was, did everybody else know about this? And I asked you this the other night. There's nothing from the library, nothing from the Council on Aging. And other than time-sensitive articles, could this not have waited for the Springtown meeting until the Capital Committee actually does its job, submits a report? And there's only been a handful of reports submitted over the years by the Capital Committee, but I think we have an important job to do, and I think we should start doing it properly, and submitting the report as part of it. Like, what does the fire department need? What does the police department need? What do all of the department needs? So that it doesn't come across, my initial reaction was, did everybody know about this money? Or was it just those in the know managed to get in and you answered it to the other night.
Well, I have monthly department head meetings, so I told them that the special was coming up, the warrant was being opened and would be closed, a week or two, or whether I gave them the date or whatever. But I wanted to make sure that this warrant didn't become a wish list for people. So I think it's a very lean warrant. There are a couple of items that are housekeeping and salary items. The wing snowplow, and that one made sense that I was open to putting that on that. The Board of Selectmen voted that because I found out that they had purchased a truck, and we'll get to this, down the road, but they had purchased a truck that's being equipped right now. So it would make sense if we could do it only because there's a meeting now, we would have it to use for the winter, and the truck is being fitted out with the lights and everything else. So now's a perfect time to do that. The other items are just grants. They're the town's portion. We got a lot of money. To not fund the town's portion would be, I think, a little silly. And then we have the cable access, which is not our money, Little Comfort, and then we have the borrowing articles. So I didn't personally, I didn't want to see all departments say, hey, I want this, 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 and this, because I would have said, no,
Yeah,
no, wait, let's keep this just, the initial intent was really just for the schools.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah.
Right.
I think it is pretty lean, but,
Okay.
I agree.
okay.
So good questions. They do go beyond a little bit on the scope of discussion for Article 1, but I think it's really good that we have a general idea of what we're charged with, why we're using, what money we're using to fund these articles. So all good questions and good response. So back to Article 1, further questions regarding Article 1. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain. So we have 610.
Okay, thank you. And may I just add that today I got the review back from town council, which you don't even have yet. I'm going to add in the capital committee's recommendations, and then finance committee, and then I'll give that to the town clerk and send a final copy.
Okay. And that's why we really need to act on this because of the time frame
Right.
left to print the warrant with our recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's 710. There's 8 of us here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You're correct. Okay, Article 2. To see if the town will vote to transfer $9,896 from the excess amount originally appropriated to pay cost of exterior envelope repairs, resurface section of the exterior finish insulation system at the high school that was authorized under Article 13 of the warrant annual town meeting held on May 1st, 2017, to Article 2, Budget Line 6, assesses salaries of the May 1st, 2023 annual town meeting, or take any other action relative thereto. All entertain a motion?
So moved.
We have a second?
To vote on it, or
We're gonna have a
I'll
discussion,
I'll
yeah?
second.
So, discussion.
this is a reoccurring cost and this is one-time money. So this is a salary. So
Yeah, I think if you remember back to when we were presented with the salary shortfall from that department, and there was a vote of this board, actually, to support the additional funding when it comes up again at town meeting. Do you
Yeah,
remember the
because,
conversation?
yeah. My first reaction was the same thing, but then I remembered because it was because
So it's a shortfall in the salary line that we actually knew was coming.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then this is a way for us to close the gap.
And-
So it's almost a stretch to say it's a prior year bill, although we really don't want to get in the habit of doing this in the future.
Correct.
I think what I personally said then, is that it has to be approved by town meeting, yes, but I think I said to take it from the salary. I mean, we voted on I don't know. I feel as if
Do you remember the conversation though? They wanted
do,
to take it
I
out
do.
of.
I wasn't
they wanted to use a
comfortable.
reserve fund transfer.
I wasn't comfortable
And
with
we
that.
didn't even
either.
have reserve fund at the time.
I feel as if it's
and the situation that they wanted to offer this person a higher salary at the time to not lose them. I wasn't crazy about the whole thing, but went along with the fact that they felt they had the right person, and we said we would figure out the money somehow.
Right.
I guess then fine. To do this increase, one of the questions were, does this person also handle the 504s and all the, how much outsourcing? Did we decrease our outsourcing by getting a person at this higher salary?
The Board of Assessors.
Yeah,
No, I don't believe that they did.
So
We're
we-
under contract with our Patriot.
exactly. So we're paying a high salary and we're outsourcing half the job right now.
But
Right.
but
That's something you did bring up before. You were
I said
in
this would
hopes
be,
that
I said
we can.
this would be appropriate if we could do this, is what I said.
But if you recall, the vote wasn't conditional on that happening. We were all in agreement that that would be nice.
I don't know if that was true. I would not have said, oh, it's totally cool for you to, pay the highest price in both ones. I would not have said it wasn't
Right.
conditional. It was conditional.
For you.
For me.
you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, so any other updates from the assessor on the individual that was hired or the position that's filled?
No, it's filled. She's doing great.
Okay.
They're thrilled with her. And the Board of Assessors, I told them to be able, be ready to speak to this if they need to on the floor. But this is in the market right now, even what we're getting for applicants for some of these jobs. I mean, people laughed at me, when I put out the accountant salary. And in order to fill that, I did 2 days from home, 2 days in the office, and took off Tuesday evenings. I mean, the market is something out there, so.
Well, they're stripping employees from one town to the other, so
Yeah.
that's driving up the salaries. I mean, it's not really much we can do other than, not have quality people and have retention that we need to do the things we need to do in the town. So, personally, I wasn't. I certainly had questions about or reservations to supplement a salary line on a future vote, but I remember the conversation vividly, and I remember the support that we provided for them to move forward and hire this person. So. I certainly don't have any reservations funding that the way it's presented in this article.
I'm gonna need some sort of plan to. They said they could get somebody that we could manage to take down the outsourcing costs. It was said that would be able to do that. So
That's the way you remember it. That's fine, but that's not the way
that's
I
more than the way I
conversation.
remembered it. If we have this salary and the outsourcing costs combined, we have some of the highest paid assessments in the area. It's really high. It's higher than surrounding towns. So I'm going to abstain until I have information that there's at least a plan over a period of time to figure out how we can get our outsourcing down.
You mean to take it in-house? Is that what you're?
Yeah,
is that
take
what
it
you're-
in-house.
And I don't know that. I think that that's something that down the road, maybe, the Board of Assessors might be amenable to. But with that, there might be some
And even-
reasons that we don't want to.
Yeah.
To do that.
So I
I'm
think
interested to have that come out. I'm okay.
And wouldn't that opportunity only arise after a contract
Correct.
ran out or something?
And we just signed a contract.
Yeah, that was kind of why did we just sign one in this?
No, it wasn't after
It was
this.
okay. It was
No,
prior to
It was
this.
prior to this, absolutely. It was
So-
prior to this. Kathy Keefe worked on that, and she came up the very beginning of July. So this was back while Frank was here.
So how long is that contract?
I believe it's 3 years.
3 years paid rate.
Okay, so could this person adjust in a 3-year period and we could begin to have the discussion of pros and cons of what we need? Because we could do 504 outhousing and then the rest in-house.
There could be a discussion.
Yeah,
It would
that's
certainly
something
would be
with
my.
with the assessors when they come in for their budget.
Absolutely,
Right.
that's the time for that discussion, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, we're not going to
So-
obviously be able to get them in here to talk about what their future plans are.
I'm going to
before
abstain
special
until I
town
have
meeting.
a plan because that's exactly what I said. I said,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, further discussion
That's,
on
that's my only concern too, is you brought up a point, is
But Rosemary
This
is
is
good at
for this
remembering
year.
things, so we
Yeah,
can
you so
discuss
much.
that.
budget
And
that takes into
I'm sorry.
account this larger salary for next year. So we'll see
Absolutely.
them in the next, over
Right.
the next 6 months.
Yep.
Right?
We'll be meeting with them, and these are the kind of discussions that are critical to understanding these department budgets in detail. So, go ahead, Chuck.
no, I'm sorry. I was
Sorry.
just kind of just confirming Rosemary's house.
Okay, all right, so further discussion then on Article 2. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstain? So we got a 602.
Two
So two.
two abstentions.
602. Rosemary and Ralph are be listed as the abstain. Okay, Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer $15,000 from excess amounts originally appropriated to pay costs of the repairs of the Duval School roof, as authorized under Article 46B of the warrant to the annual town meeting held on May 2nd, 2016, and Article 15 of the special town meeting held on December 11th, 2017, to Article 2, Budget Line 27, Library Salaries of the May 1st, 2023 annual town meeting, or take any other action relative thereto. Proposed by the Board of Library Directors.
Actually, that's trustees in the final.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move Article 3.
Okay, and a second for discussion? John Noon, seconds for discussion. Discussion, Rosemary.
When did we do the roof? Is this, because we voted in,
2017.
but we,
Oh, well, that's when we
and
appropriated
then,
that money.
and so we appropriate
Almost $1 million.
almost $1 million. Use it to patch, use it to pay for all kinds of other things, and never actually have a viable roof? Is this what's gone
We're
on?
waiting for the MSBA, it's my understanding, to open up the
Clawback.
The clawback.
Clawback time, yeah.
So
So basically, we asked them for money before we needed it.
we didn't spend the money on the roof.
Yeah.
Has that caused
And it-
damage?
well-
Any damage? Or what was the cost of the? Because what did they do to?
So,
It doesn't seem cost effective to have not handled that at the time, and it must have had some sort of cost from patching
There were
to.
some damaged materials in the library, to the best of my knowledge. That's
Yeah.
the only specific I'm aware of.
if I remember too, the whole thing was, we had the leaks in that bad winter, I think.
2015.
And the roof was done not that long ago, but it wasn't within, the clawback time because the building was,
It was never done.
no, years ago, the last time it was,
The MSBA will not entertain funding a repair to the roof, and I think it was pushed even further
Yeah.
back than what they, if it was 20
But-
years, they made it 25.
but we did allocate all that money, and it was very slow going, and it wound up being patches, as we heard intermittently over the last few years, that, oh yeah, they were able to use some, and I think we kind of knew that there was a lot of money there that was not used.
Where is this on our matrix? On our matrix for building, for capital matrix? Or is
Was
that
this
on-
discussed at the Capitol meeting on Thursday?
No, in terms of the status of the Duval roof, no. We have
Or this article?
We discussed, you know what, we didn't because it's not a capital item.
We're not talking about the roof.
Right.
We're talking
We're
about
talking
money
about
that
the library salary.
Yeah,
we are talking about money that was intended for something that was never done to pull over into a salary. Now the salary won't have a long-term cost. A roof, damage from a roof will have a long-term cost. So I'm concerned.
But at this point, there is no authorization for that money other than
There's
it's
no
going back
author-
to the town.
yeah.
Okay.
It would just go back to free
We
cash.
just go back to free
Right.
cash.
Right,
And there's
so-
no vote that we,
business.
to pull back and not do this project from the town? Like, there's no process that we have to, they voted, the town said, here's money, build a roof. We never built a roof. What's the process? Because it didn't say, here's money, patch a roof. It said, do a roof. We never built a roof. So
Yep.
every penny that was used outside of the parameters that it was approved for.
We did also
Not every penny, they did some of it, right?
we did also spend about $600,000 on playgrounds on this account last
Yeah.
year.
Out of
But
this
that
account?
wasn't when it was,
That wasn't a roof.
that's not a roof.
But at town meeting, we
But voted.
reappropriated money from the Duval roof to pay for
We
playgrounds.
did?
I believe so.
So, either way, if I may.
There should be like an
The whole
end date.
process, looking at the dates, was very
As long as you
messy.
do the work.
Yeah.
The whole thing was very messy,
Right.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the only way to try to fix that going forward is we have asked,
Rescind.
try to have some kind of mechanism for when projects are done, if there's some kind of tracking, hey, we allocated this, a year later, a year and a half later. Okay, that project is done, all the money was used, or all the money wasn't used. So it was just very messy from the
If
get-go.
this roof was not going to be done, and they determined it was a clawback, it should have been rescinded, and a plan should have been put in place to redo the roof, because there has been a cost with patching and everything else that is sort of spread out into different places that we haven't calculated or quantified, but it's there. And that's kind of my issue.
Right.
And here we are going and we're paying a salary.
Okay, so let's get around what the money was for. It's very important to understand that, yeah, we're not, but what we're looking for is to not take money out of stabilization to fund articles for this special town meeting warrant. So if we have money left over in accounts that are no longer being used for the purpose they were voted, then we either put it back into free cash or we allocate it to a specific need. And, right?
Correct.
So again, I fully agree with a need for the capital committee to do a comprehensive follow-up on every building project that is proposed and funded by the taxpayers. I think it might even be a policy decision from the Board of Selectmen.
There's
That there's some follow-up.
there is a financial management policy that pertains to free cash and a percentage of free cash that we're supposed to hold over. If we forego putting it in free cash, this percentage of money does not go forward in our financial policy. So it's a percentage of a certain amount of free cash for stable, let me see, excuse me, got it here. But a percentage goes towards capital and other things. That it would throw off those numbers. Following this procedure, and doing it this way bypasses some of our financial procedures. That's something I want people to keep in mind.
Well, that's why we're making recommendations and town meeting is going to make the decision, right? I mean, it's going to the taxpayers. It's very clear where the money came from. I mean, it is a very convoluted route. There's no doubt about that.
It's not clear to the taxpayer. Then we say, hey, we're going to take, especially with so many capital projects coming up, we're going to take 40% or 60% of all free cash, and it's going to go towards the capital or this amount, and we spend it here like this. We throw off that percentage number. What 60% becomes 70 or 80 or whatever amount, because we've actually spent some, depending on how we spend it. Some of it's on salaries, so it becomes it's free cash. It should be part of that quantified amount and roll forward that way.
I agree.
So it
But
throws
you
off
have to
our
look at the dollar amount, though, here, Rosemary. We're not talking about a great percentage of.
I hear him. I'm going to sound like Sean Kane, even though he's in the room. This was not our financial policy. This bypasses a financial policy.
And we can oppose it if we want.
Thank you.
And I don't believe any money last year went to capital stabilization.
No,
because
it wasn't
of the budget.
stabilization. Yeah, it should have. So you're saying that this is a product of it not having capital stabilization?
No, I'm just saying that
For that-
not all years do we have the
The
money
40 to
that we're
60%.
able to put aside
Well,
into.
I think if you remember, that last budget was pretty tight.
That's what I mean. That's
Yeah,
exactly
I mean-
So
what
we did have a sum of money to add to capital stabilization. Is that?
yeah. I mean, it's more than just that, but I guess I'm just saying.
We need to get a better handle.
This is a roundabout way.
Yep.
I like cleaner lines and straightforward. It's just my
Okay.
thing.
Yeah,
So,
I hear what you're saying. There was money from 2016
yeah,
that was there.
right.
So it wasn't, I'm used to end of the year. Okay, close all the books,
And it goes
open
here.
it up next year. That's
This
it.
is where it
You didn't
goes
spend
in
it, it
categories.
goes back in, there we go.
Yeah.
Next time you come to us with a good plan. You give us an accurate number, and maybe we will or maybe we won't, but we'll allocate you money, and you'll use it within that fiscal year, or over a period of
Right.
time that you define that it will take. But at the end of that money comes back if you haven't spent it. You
Yeah.
can't just spend it wherever you want.
Right.
Because that loses the mandate that we go to the town for that says, please let us spend money on this. And although all the other projects sound reasonable, right?
I agree with you.
That's
Yeah.
not, that's
Use
not
it
good.
or
So-
lose it.
Just and keep in mind too that municipal projects are a little bit different than funding, purchases. Municipal projects sometimes drag on for years before they're completed. So just to say send back the money at the end of the year, it sounds good,
or
but
a
it can't
predetermined period of time, right?
for a predetermined
But-
period of time. Yeah,
Well, the roof is a good
This-
example.
this is a bad example of how to manage.
Exactly. And that's what's causing, that's what's causing the angst
right
here.
for us, yeah.
So,
Thank you.
but I do agree that at this point, it is the way things are. Okay, we live with it, but it is something we should look at
And
going forward.
we should remember this as we go forward.
Painful lesson.
Right.
Well, this
So-
is one. May I say?
Go ahead,
This
yeah.
is one item. The town is moving forward with an audit of the district, and this is one of the items for both Whitman and Hanson to look at the capital articles that are still open.
Good.
Because normally the accountant does run through those each year for the town,
Yep.
for the articles, and there's been correspondence with Ken Lytle when he was in there, the former accountant, and the district. Hey, how are we doing on this article? You're ready to close it out. Because it is not the norm for the articles to just stay open for years. So, but it is an allowable expense to take this once they're certified and to appropriate.
Right.
So
Okay.
it is allowable.
So let's not forget the intent of. Agreed that there's a problem with the way that this capital article evolved or devolved over the years. But we have to remember what the intent of funding these articles
Well,
is
I
using cash that would have otherwise gone
Gone
back
into free cash and been part of our, and would have ended up in the same place.
Right.
So, but
But this isn't.
but we would be controlling percentages and monitor it, have ability to monitor amounts a little bit better if it just went through its process.
No doubt about it in my
So,
mind. Chuck.
I will be
And I'm
abstaining
just,
or voting against.
I'd like to focus on why they need this money, because I'm not really familiar, so I know you're gonna discuss the situation, so that's what I'd like to.
Right. So the assistant librarian position was open for quite a while. So David Aronson had extra money in his budget with that open position. He wanted to increase the amount that he offered for the assistant library position when they finally did fund it. And he did offer more than what was budgeted. So that did cause, a shortage there
All right,
in
so that
that line.
sounds similar to the excesses situation.
And so when he did this, I said, you have to work within your budget. I mean, that's all you have. You have to work within your budget. He said, well, I can do this, I can do this. And then he had another position because the person that moved up to that assistant librarian position vacated her position, and somebody else within the library moved up there, but carried up a higher step than what that other position was budgeted for. So that caused a shortfall. So at the time I said, I can't sign anything here because you don't have the money in the budget lines. And he said, well, I do have the money if I don't fill the 2 library techs, because one of the library techs is the person that moved up. So in his plan, it was all going to work just fine. However, in speaking with council and the union members, they want to see that second position still filled. So those 2 positions were each originally scheduled for 15 hours, and he was giving 18 hours to one of them. And I said, then you need to put in for your shortage if you're going to fill that second library tech position at 15 hours and bring the other person down to 15 hours. But they always did add a little bit of extra in going back when they had to do call somebody in if they were short-staffed or whatever. So they always did have a little cushion in that line. So you should have the backup there that shows what he was short for each of the lines to come up with this number.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Further discussions on the intended allocation of the $15,000, or even for the related to where the money is coming from. John.
We heard from the assessors that doing a search had left them short on money to hire an assessor based on what the going rates were. All we're hearing from the library is we want to pay this person more. I'm not sure that I see a justification like we've seen with the assessors. So it's a little bit less apples and apples to apples. It's more apples and oranges.
Yeah, so I think if you go back to their presentation that they made when they came in last year, they made it clear they had some specific ideas on how to staff. And at the time, they didn't have the allocation to do it, right?
More than that, there were 2 dynamics that they needed to meet. One, we did do a salary we did the call-in salary reporting. It's a little outdated, but if we roll it forward at the 2.5, that was one of the that was the department with some of the biggest salary defects or deficiencies that we had. Additionally, there's librarians are great at documentation and they talk to each other and they're great at information, but there's a librarian database, and we're a red library community. Basically, we're targeted as they pay low, you can get a job right away, and you can move on to somewhere else. It is
Stepping stone.
It's a stepping stone thing, which is what you don't want to be if you want a long-term program and great public outreach. I found this out because the opening at the library happened. I called a girlfriend of mine, and she's like, "Oh no!" And she sent me the website. Not gonna work there. I'm too qualified. So on that basis, we know that the Collins report said that we weren't paying enough. So they didn't have to come in. I don't think they did the assessors in the Collins report. Did they do the assessors?
They did. It was one of the other identified.
Was it one of the? I missed that one. Thank you. I didn't. I had just remembered that the DPW wasn't identified, and
Union was one of the other ones.
Yeah, and then that was in there. Again, we could probably figure out a way to use that data and roll it forward. Kind of look at that, but I don't think we've had any great jumps in their salary in those years, have we?
Not that I'm aware of, but this is.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's helpful.
So I think, good point. I think we need to have these discussions with the library when it comes time to meet with that department. too.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, further discussion on Article 3. Okay. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstain. So now we're at 5-2-1.
I'm only opposing
Chuck.
because of the means of funding, guys.
So I imagine with a 5-2-1 vote, just we're probably going to be asked to talk about the reasons why we're not really, fully supporting this article. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the discussion is more related to the funding source, and most of the opposition is related to what we feel is a deficiency in how we follow up on capital expenditures, right? I mean,
In long term, anytime there's a long term.
so sometimes I don't get that feedback, and I'm asked at town meeting to stand up and say, why did the finance committee vote 5-2-1 on this article?
Yeah.
So am I getting the right sense of that?
Yeah,
the
I
opposition?
would say yes to the things that are doing it, the process, the funding source. I would not.
Okay.
I want to see.
Rosemary, you're the one that abstained?
No, I didn't.
I Chuck did. I said no.
5-2-1.
Yeah. And actually,
Okay.
I'm more like in the process of how this transpired. Didn't want to make a vote on it.
Okay. So we'll move on then now to Article 4, DPW. See if the town votes to transfer $21,400 from excess amounts originally appropriated to pay costs to replace a telephone system at the Duval, Conley, and Whitman middle schools, as authorized under Article 17 of the warrant of the annual town meeting held on June 2nd, 2021, to purchase and install a 10-foot mid-mount winged snowplow to be mounted on a 6-wheel dump truck or take any other action relative thereto. Proposed by the Department of Public Works. And the Capital Committee will hear from the Finance Committee.
We approved, I think there were 8 of us at last Thursday's meeting, and it was approved 8-0.
Okay, 8-0 vote from the Capital Committee. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for Article 4.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion. Rosemary.
Did we put the telephones in? Hanson, I know Hanson, this is the year we did Hanson paid for their share of the telephones, I thought. Did we ever?
I would have to pull it back up on that and see. I mean, we paid out of all these articles, and then
They sent them back.
they said, and I say they, John Stanbrook certified that the article was complete.
So we're getting the certification from the
From
entity
source.
that
That's right.
proposed the original article, right? So you would hope then that the work is
Right,
done.
I would
Yeah.
hope, but we've dealt with the region.
Yeah,
And I hope that's on recorder. I'm like,
It's the same, like, we discussed with the, the funding for the additional money for the DPW building and the excess funds that were sent back from articles from the DPW. It's the same idea. If the DPW superintendent says this item is closed and we have enough money to finish or it's done, then we can send the money back, right? I mean,
what percentage? The whole amount was sent back?
You guys are gonna love this one. I went back to the 2021 annual town meeting. We appropriated $71,000 for the phone system, and it came from the Duval roof account.
I don't.
That is
I
funny.
don't love that one. Just so you know, that is what I don't
a
love.
comedian refers to that as a callback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
71,000. The school returned 21 to us, so they
Right.
spent 50,000 on something.
So they did buy something. They didn't get the good phones. They got the, mid phone.
And
The tin
let's just
can
hope we're
Newer
closer to that
cameras,
audit.
cans.
Yeah.
some
Under the
string.
capital matrix that the school department shared with us, Duval Technology replaced phone systems, it's listed as complete.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's
All right. Very good. Any further questions on Article 4? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained. Okay, so we got a
it's
701
funding source.
Rosemary.
Just wanted to go to free cash.
Okay, Article 6, Fire Department. See if the town will transfer from the excess amount. So sorry.
5.
Sorry. Oh, you know why? Because I wrote the 80 Capital
Wrong
Committee
spot.
in the. So our recommendation. Okay. There we go. Okay, so Article 5, see if the town will transfer from the excess amount originally appropriated to pay Whitman's share of the cost to spray or resurface the outdoor Whitman-Hanson Regional School District track as authorized under Article 46 of the annual town meeting held on May 6th and June 17th, 2019 to pay $9,138.65, which represents the town's portion of the $191,911.74 total AFG grant the fire department was awarded for the replacement of portable radios. Wow, that's a big bill for radios, isn't it? 191. A lot more than the last time we bought radios.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for Article 5.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. John.
Just one quick question. It just strikes me with this particular warrant. Is there any way you can put in what we're spending money for and then go into how we're finding the funding for it? Only because I don't want to say we need to simplify it, but as I go down 8 or 9 lines, I still haven't figured out what we're buying yet.
Right.
And then we say in almost like a half a sentence to buy this.
Can you, Justin, how was that article written when you were talking about that one for the telephones?
It was in the same
Format.
format. This
So,
is, yeah, we always list funding source and
Yeah,
Right.
right.
It's a really long funding source and then a,
Yeah.
So you know why I think that that's done is because historically we've amended on town hall floor where it says a sum of money, and then the amendment covers the first part of the warrant article. I think in the past. Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if we had the certified free cash and then we were having the town meetings, let's say we're in December instead of in October, these would be a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Much
We
cleaner.
kind of moved up the purpose of the meeting was really driven by the middle school board
Right.
because of their timeline. So we're kind of caught in ideally we wouldn't be moving stuff around. We'd just be taking it from free cash and whatnot. But because we don't have the certified free cash, you're kind of doing this just to keep the accounting clean. But in doing so, it's making it confusing to the everyday person who's trying to understand.
Right.
I'm almost ready to, in my
Totally
mind,
agree.
Transfer out of
capital stabilization,
Yeah.
and then pay back.
and then pay it back.
This is done all the time. This money gets turned
Oh, I
back.
understand,
Yeah.
but it obfuscates and it makes it harder to utilize the percentages when we're reviewing.
But I heard John say it differently. What John's saying is, tell me what you're
What-
spending,
and
and
then
then
how.
where are you getting it from? Right now, it doesn't make grammatical sense.
Oh, right.
Right? We're going to take money over here, and oh, by the way, we're going to spend it over here. So I don't go to my wife that way. So I'd like to have this, and here's what I'll give up to
The
get
title
it.
of
Right?
each article does kind of say, like, fire department portable radio replacement grant.
Understood.
Kind of gives you a topic that we're purchasing.
Yeah. I think just historically it's always been done in that order.
Just
Yeah.
weird.
My
John.
only point is, we had a fairly long discussion about what happened to the money that we're now spending, as opposed to how we're proposing to spend it.
Well, it obviously generated the most discussion when we read the first article, and there was all that discussion about, or the article that was for the roof. That generates the most discussion because that's the first part of the article, right?
Right.
Right.
So I don't think it's gonna be any different on town hall floor, right?
I'd like,
That's my point. If you could say, this is what we want to buy, or services we want to purchase, whatever, and then this is how we're going to pay for it. I'm not saying to go near this and change it now.
Oh, good. Are you
I
happy
wasn't
with that?
suggesting that in the least.
What I have is the article that just came back this afternoon from council. So what are we talking about here? The radios?
In general.
In general.
Right, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
this one is for the radios,
Is
yeah.
up now.
to see if the
radios.
town will vote to appropriate the sum of 9138.65 to be transferred from. And they're all, according to council, should be that way. The amount of money and then from the source. I think it's just whether,
it's like a ballot
sources.
question when you're reading it.
Yeah.
They make it as
I
great.
think.
So this one I think is the worst one as far as how it's written, right? To see if the town transfer from the excess amount originally appropriated, you must have a run-on sentence
Wait till you
there.
get to the fiber one. That's the worst one.
But I think, if I may, this is just
Take
a
it out,
general
stabilization, put it back.
general
That's
statement
right.
for
Keep it clean.
the,
That's-
hopefully the more people that come to town meeting that aren't familiar with how this works. This will be confusing to some, and before, as the moderator reads it and we take the votes, some people will be like, and not really, it might leave them discouraged that they don't understand how the process works.
and I thought this was such a creative way.
It was too
It is.
creative. It was just too
That's-
creative.
No, you're explaining everything,
Format change.
what needs to be done, and
Right.
everybody here and most people.
But now put 300
but-
people in the hall.
Yeah, and you know some of the veterans will understand it, but because I don't know, I hope more people, and obviously more people will be coming to this town meeting.
Yeah.
But obviously, the more people who get involved, and to keep people involved, I hear it talk every now and then. Even my wife, she doesn't understand sometimes. What are we guys doing? You know, it went so fast, and just
Yeah, yeah.
that's just a general question to make it easier for the regular
Can we
town
have
folk.
to-
Kathleen,
I was gonna say the schools will have people at the town meeting for the middle school vote.
Right.
So you may want to let Jeff know to know the status of each of these projects because those questions will come out.
What?
Kathleen, hold on, please.
My one suggestion, and I made it the other night, was that we're taking a total of $112,855.87 from monies returned from the schools for about 7 different articles. Duval parking, high school capital, Duval roof, telephone system, resurfacing the track, and the Duval chairlift. And if that information could be put out front, that these articles are going to be funded by money that would normally go to free cash that has been returned by the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District for articles that have been closed out, then it
I
would
was
want-
planning on doing that.
I'm doing that.
Okay.
I think you
At
could
the
do it
beginning.
right
that's
at the
it.
beginning.
Right at the beginning, I was just going to get up and explain that exactly. That we have just 15 articles, a few housekeeping, the money is coming from,
Now, I was in one of your capital meetings right before we went into the selectmen on because we have 2 buildings. And one of the things that were creatively done for the DPW building was anything that they were creative about projects that they didn't do as well. It was diverted and to reduce the amount of their capital bills, the DPW build. Why isn't that same thing being thought of doing here? Why don't we put this aside as something that we're, cutting out of the middle school building? I mean, it seems as if we took both buildings and we showed the true cost without having all these creative ways to reduce it for one building and not for the other. We could get a sense of our total capital and our total ability. I've said all along, all capital should be put into one total amount, and we should be considering it against that, what we can afford, which is, and what is legally allowed, which is the 5% of the EQV, I believe, by law. And I think you had set a parameter of 12% of the levy. I think finding somewhere in between there might be a better idea, a more reasonable.
All right, well, we're
but-
drifting a little bit
and
beyond
actually not
topic.
drifting. You might not be understanding, but I'm not.
No, I understand
Fair
everything you're saying,
statement.
yes.
Yeah.
But it's a bit-
It is a true statement, yes.
It is a true statement, but here we are, which should probably be coming from a source that we currently that this should go through, because remember, we've got other policies in place, percentage, to handle capital for the percentage that keep those larger numbers in place, so we're not favoring one department over another, or any, because we have demographics that we have to deal with. I don't know if anybody knows something called disparate impact. If we do not serve protected classes like families, family is considered a protected class, we can get in trouble from the state. That's an illegal act. If we continually underfund family services, which we have continually been some of the lowest paying services for schools, and also for seniors as well. That's not something we want to get into.
Rosemary, I
I'm
understand
saying
your point, but
my point is, my point is here, we're treating two different. We have the same situation and we're treating it differently. We didn't take the DPW money and put it in free cash or pay off other department things. We're saying, oh, the DPW saved money, we'll be doing that. So it pertains to all of these articles across
Right.
the board.
so with our discussion, generally speaking here, is whether we changing the format, or are we taking money out of capital stabilization to fund these articles? Or are we using this creative method which uses surplus revenue from articles that have been completed and returning money?
By the schools.
Right. So I guess that's the question, right? Do we want to rewrite the warrant? Are you guys in favor of rewriting the warrant?
Council reviewed it today, so I'd rather not.
Yeah.
That would cost us more money, right?
Yeah.
If they have to review it again.
We're printing it.
Yeah. It would be nice if it was the same.
Well, why didn't it come to finance
Because your
before
first
the
four
council
articles
reviewed
are
it?
written differently than the next.
Just in terms of
Just meeting dates.
just meeting dates, okay? I mean, I'm gonna have to say no to everything because of the funding source. Even
We understand. That's what you want to
Share
do.
your discomfort, Rosemary, but I'm also more pragmatic.
I don't know if that's pragmatic or not.
No,
but
I'm pragmatic.
Right. I mean, at this hour, like, this is the hand we're dealt, right? If we can present it in a way that town meeting can understand
That's
it,
how we've always done it.
Do you want to just leave it as is?
I think
Or is it going to open this can of worms on the floor?
we're gonna have to explain this at town meeting, but I think this is the way we've always handled it. I think it's easier to explain than we're changing it now at a special. I think it's easier to leave it as is.
Leave it as written.
Yeah.
I think at this point,
Yeah.
I don't think
And
we have
Mary
any
Beth,
other
you'll
option.
have opening statements at town
Yeah,
meeting.
and I intended
And
to
I
have an opening statement.
And I think you
to
could say,
explain this.
yeah, what happened last year? What, we borrowed money out of capital stabilization, which is not a very fiscal responsible thing to do. And
Well, if-
this is what we're doing for an alternative. You know,
I'm sorry, that's not a correct statement. Point of order. It is not a correct statement to say if we know the money is there, it is not fiscally irresponsible.
Okay,
That is an incorrect statement.
all right.
If the money was not there and we were pulling it out, it would be.
As long as we're putting it back in.
As long as we know the money's there and it's there to put in. So it is fiscally irresponsible not to have it go to free cash properly
Okay.
and not to be able to quantify amounts like percentages towards what
And
we're
you're
supposed to be doing.
opposing all of these
Because
articles
it's
because
against-
you don't think this method is
Is fiscal. I think this is a very fiscally irresponsible because
Okay.
it throws off other
Your point's well
formulas.
taken.
But
I disagree,
again,
but-
I think if we were gonna have a fall town meeting, ideally, we do it after.
After free cash is certified, without a doubt.
The only reason why we're having it early is so the middle school will.
Right.
That's right.
You have to understand
We could
why
certify free cash. Can't we certify free cash at this meeting?
No, we didn't last year either.
Well, Hanson has a fall time meeting too, certified free cash, doesn't it?
Hanson spent free cash, but it wasn't officially
Certified yet? Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Okay,
All right.
so I think we should just move on and go with, we're not rewriting the warrant, right? So, understandably, you're going to either abstain or vote against all the articles because of the funding source. We
Well,
understand
throws
that.
off other formulas,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But I think I think that Mary Beth could easily explain at the beginning opening statement
Which I plan
what
to.
we're doing
I appreciate
and why we're using the methods that we're using to fund these articles. But like I said, that doesn't prevent someone from being diametrically opposed to the process. I think we just need to finish making recommendations for this warrant, that's all.
Okay.
All right, so we have a 701 for Article 5, is that correct? So what you got?
We didn't.
No, that was,
We didn't.
Article 4. We're on 4.
yeah, you met,
Oh,
that's
okay.
why you skipped it.
601 for Article 4.
Yeah.
Yep, got it. So Article 5, is there further discussion? Okay, all in favor of Article 5? Opposed? Abstained? Okay, so we got 7-1-0.
0-1-0.
Okay, sorry, I had that written in there before. Article 6. See if the town will transfer from the excess amount originally appropriated to pay Whitman's share of the cost to spray or resurface the outdoor track, as authorized under Article 46 of the annual town meeting held on May 6th and June 17th, 2019, to pay $14,090.72, which represents the town portion of the $281,814.28 total AFG grant the fire department was awarded for a new brush truck, or take any other action relative thereto.
Move Article 6.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion and a second to move Article 6. No recommendation from capital, because it's a vehicle. Is that
I don't have,
useful life? Is that why capital isn't
We
making?
did recommend.
I think we did.
I thought we did, but I
Yeah.
don't have, no, I have too many pieces of paper. I'm pretty sure
I
that
agree.
We did 4,
We did.
6, 7, and 8. We
Oh.
didn't do 5. We did 4, 6, 7, and 8.
No, we didn't do 7. We did 4, 5, 6, and 8. We didn't consider training to be capital.
You probably
Okay.
have better notes than I do, Justin.
Yeah.
4, 5.
6. So what was the vote of the committee on 6? Do you know?
Yes.
Unanimous on
Unanimous.
it.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Okay, so further discussion on Article 6. Anybody? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 7-1-0. Article 7. To see if the town will transfer from the excess amount originally appropriated to pay Whitman's share of the cost to spray or resurface the town track, same as the last article, the funding source, to pay $5,554.29, which represents the town's portion of the $111,8571 total AFG grant the fire department was awarded for training to include emergency vehicle operators course, engine operations, and ladder operations, or take any other action relative thereto. So, I'll entertain a motion for Article 7.
I move
So
Article- I-
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No recommendation from capital on this one because it's training, okay? Discussion.
The English teacher in me is really having a conniption over the run-on sentences.
Yes, run-on sentences are very popular at town
There's
meetings.
one period in every one of these articles. Wait till you get to the next one.
I think Article 14 actually allocates periods to all of
Thank
these.
you.
So Article 7, discussion, so my own discussion would be, is there some time crunch for getting this town's share of this grant in? Is that why this is on the special and not on the annual?
Yes, I know that was spoken, we
asked
talked about that for the technology for sure. And I think the other grants as well. These come in, we have to sign and accept them, and then before anything can move forward with the project,
We gotta
we
pay our
have to
share.
show that we have our share.
Okay. All right, further discussion on Article 7. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 7-1-0. Article 8. To see if the town vote transfer from the excess amount originally appropriate to reimburse the Whitman Hanson Regional School District for the installation of a chairlift at the Duval Elementary School, as authorized under Article P2 of the annual town meeting held on May 4th, rescheduled to June 22nd by the Board of Selectmen, and then postponed to July 8th. Oh my God.
Postponed again to July
let me see.
27th. I
Yeah.
challenge you to read this
That's
without
not the
Oh my
final
God.
one.
This one really has a run-on sentence.
Let me read it. Want me to read the one I have
Oh, you got it?
from council?
Oh, good. It's
Well, I
revised?
took out the, let me see,
Our council doesn't.
the postponed. Yeah, that's not the most
Is that
recent one I
one?
sent you.
They don't breathe.
Oh,
That's not the most
oh,
recent
okay.
one.
Sorry, I'm reading from an old.
It's a
Yep,
very-
that's okay, but this
It is
says,
entertaining.
I know, I went back, Article 7 from Town Council. There is only one period, and that was Town Council that reviewed all this, but anyway, 8, technology municipal fiber grant. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $36,459 to be transferred from the balance of unexpended funds remaining under the town's original appropriation to reimburse the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District for the installation of a chairlift at the Duval Elementary School as authorized under Article P2 of the annual town meeting held on July 27th, 2020, for the purpose of providing the town's matching 5% share, $36,459, of the cost to install a new fiber optic network connecting all town buildings, with the remainder of such cost to be paid using the $202,463.81 municipal fiber grant received by the Technology Department, or take any other action relative thereto.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can breathe.
I can breathe. Now, I did go back today because the original grant was not 202, it was like 182. So Josh changed it to the total costs of the project comes to the 202.
Oh,
So that 36,000 is not 5% of 202. So I
So that'll be
go
it.
back with council. What happened is with this article, there are details, 12
You're a dentist, huh?
details that need to be factored in times 2. I think there were 24. And so he added that cost in to the amount that we have to come up with and added the details to the total project. But
okay.
it is the 36,459 that we need to come up with for this.
Okay, so capital committee, what was the vote, capital committee?
It's unanimous.
Unanimous, 8-0
Yep.
by the capital committee. So have you seen this before in the capital committee, or is this brand new? It's not a 5-year plan, or? It's
There's
brand
no
new.
5-year plan. The capital committee has a lot of work to do to comply with what they were asked to do under Article 33.
This
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Period.
Yeah. So first time capital committee's seen this article.
Correct.
Okay. Rosemary.
we had huge jumps in technology budget in the last couple of years. We've had huge jumps. Has anybody kind of reviewed comparative to others now?
Well, we now have double the staff, right?
Even if we have double the staff, like this is something that should be on a capital plan, putting forward, and people should be saying, yes, we want to go down this route. We want to have more technology.
You are correct. You are
And-
totally correct,
and-
but
and
we
it-
don't have a plan.
I feel like you just sort of come in every once in a while, and yeah, cable optics are great, but what's the bigger vision or plan here, and what direction are we going to? Because we got cable optics, and maybe that lines you up to get even more expensive. Maybe we weren't going to go that big, technology wise, or we need to understand where they're going. And
You are correct.
thank you so much. Comparatively to others, I'm going to vote no for 2 reasons now.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that, Rosemary, because I'm of the opinion as well that this hasn't really been studied at all by the capital committee, right? Yet they voted 8-0 to support this because it's a grant
Because
involved,
it's a grant.
right? That's always the buzzword, right?
Yeah.
We got a grant. We got a grant for do something that we may or may not need.
You guys have the note.
Sean.
Sorry, Sean.
This is, in a way, connected to the strategic plan. And I think, for me, one of the things that I appreciated was, although I think he was going for a bigger, for them to completely fund it, he was able to, he's able to get $240,000 as the total portion, and we only have to pay $36,000.
Right.
So as far as the aspect of, kind of like with the fire department, we're paying a short amount of money and we're getting a significant portion of money. So those are the things with the grants that really, for me, I appreciate. you know.
So the fire department
Yeah.
training grant was 5,000 out of our pocket, right, for 111.
You know,
This is 36,000 for 202, right? I mean, so you're not really comparing, you know,
200,000 that we're getting in the grant, right?
right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So we're paying 36 to get that, you know? That's quite a lot. That's quite a lot to pay out to get a grant, percentage-wise.
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
aware of what it is?
No idea.
It's,
Wouldn't that be nice? If
Yeah.
the capital committee could have made a
It's
presentation.
technology, yeah.
So all the fiber that connects all the town's municipal buildings.
Right.
Right now, it's relatively insecure. So what he's doing is running all new fiber that connects all town buildings, and there's some redundancy. So if the police department was to have some trouble, fire department would still have access to their stuff, and vice versa. There's like 2 parallel loops or something that they're connecting. So I was impressed because I thought it really hit the security of technology that we were concerned about with the overall picture of the town, you know.
Sure.
You know,
But don't you think the taxpayer would like to get some of that information
Yeah, I think
before they
it's a
spend this
lot up there.
$36,000? I mean, it's great. There's a small group of people who know what this is. I have no idea. The only thing I know about technology in this room is we don't have the internet. I mean, I don't know.
In this room.
Is this going to help
Maybe
that?
that's part of the problem.
but Josh will be there to speak on this article,
Right.
to give all the details on the floor.
Yeah.
But this is, it's something that he wanted to do anyway. It wasn't just a grant that, it's like a coupon at a store that you're getting something that you weren't going to buy anyway,
Right.
but you buy it because you have a coupon. This was something he was planning for. And to get that amount of money, 180 some odd thousand, for
Okay.
that small.
Kathleen, then John, then
So
Mike.
this goes back to my very first statement about the capital committee, and I'm just going to read paragraph 2 of Article 33. The committee shall prepare an annual report identifying the town's anticipated capital needs for the next 5 years, prioritized by year. We haven't done that. And that's what's caused me pause. It's like, all right, this is great, but is this the number one priority? Or if we have a list of 10 capital items and we can only fund 8, is this one of the top 8? So the capital committee has to get its act together, and I'm one of the members. But we do have to get our act together and put together a 5-year plan that we've talked about at virtually every meeting, and we've made zero
With Todd
progress.
now- With Todd now, he should be able to, he put together a facilities report, which is a step in that direction. You know, it's not quite a matrix broken down in 5 years, but starting to, do a full inventory of each department and prioritize. So I was impressed with his first pass at that. But I
I
think
don't
that
think
was
I've
from-
seen it, Sean, but I'm impressed with Todd's.
I
Now
presence.
we have a full-time facilities
Yeah.
manager.
Rosemary, you're fourth in line.
Do that.
think, okay.
Sorry, I was out of line.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, I guess we have to think about too, as far as a 5-year plan. Grant writing is a little different. It doesn't fall into a 5-year plan. You can't say that we're going to write this grant 4 years from now, right? You almost have to act when the grants come available. So I understand the need or the benefit if this is something that we were really looking to get,
And Josh said,
and not
yes,
like you
he
said had a
was.
coupon for something that
Right.
I think would like to try.
No, this was in his plan.
Yeah, okay.
He said to-
John.
Kind of 2 questions. One is, since you guys know about the project, and we don't, is the building that we rent out going to be part of that fiber optics upgrade?
I don't think they're currently connected. We leased it out in '93, and the current fiber network was built in 2004. So, unless Josh plans on connecting them, I don't believe so.
Which building are you referring to?
Fourth Hill?
The self-help.
Now,
It used to be the school
Yeah.
administration.
Did we
building.
find
Back
the
in the day.
deed? I don't think we can rent without a deed.
The other question is, what's going to happen with the DPW building? Are they going to upgrade the old building while the new building is waiting to be constructed? Or are we basically going to have this grant available for the next few years until that building gets up and everybody gets everything?
Good question for Josh. I know they're running this along the poles. We've got a municipal spot on each of the telephone poles, so connecting the town buildings. If it's just that last leg, they can probably leave it.
Yeah, put a T there and eventually connect it, right? Simply. Michael, that doesn't happen that way.
Doesn't
Thank you.
work that way. Fiber optic.
So, yeah, I mean, I have some, this is my business, so I have some real technical questions. I don't hear any security here. It's, this is about redundancy, which, okay, but I do question, just because we have a lot of money on a grant, I mean, there are bridges in Alaska that nobody uses because somebody had a grant, right? So do we really need to, are we sending the amount of data that requires a fiber optic network that connects, we don't know how many buildings, right? I have a lot of questions about what we're doing with it. So,
Yeah, is this enough to do what it, do you think that's enough to do all the town building?
I don't know what they're doing, so it could be more, could be less, right? And it does open up the 5-year question. Where does it go to? Because I understand, we're moving from old technology into new technology that can be great if we have a need, but it also means you have to upgrade everything around it. Everything. And that could be millions of dollars. Because I don't get out of bed for less than 10 mil.
Right. So this new fiber optics, when it's in the building, it's gonna hook up to something that maybe is not compatible.
We all have fiber optics probably at our houses. If you have Comcast, you get fiber optics in their house.
So,
That's what it is, right? So it's not, it isn't, it sounds great, sounds very Star Trek-y, it's not. It's all over the place right now. The question is, do we need it, how are we gonna use it, and then what is it going to push us to in the next few years? I'd love to see that plan.
right,
Yeah.
okay. Those
So
are-
it's,
Well, it says high-speed internet throughout the town for the 5-year plan. That's what I see, not just within the building. I'm not seeing that on the, because I have the strategic plan here. So it does say,
So was there backup specific to this article that's
no,
described?
Sean mentioned it's part of the strategic plan.
Yeah, Rosemary's-
Part of the strategic plan is the entire town having,
Building out infrastructure for the downtown and for technology for what we're doing, It'd be good, obviously, be nice
Well, I
for
think
Josh to be here to answer a lot of these questions.
yeah, I mean, essentially building it up for downtown and everybody pays for just people in downtown.
It's not gonna, high-speed internet won't be part of this. Not for like
What?
residents to purchase, that was
Yeah.
my initial thought, but that's not.
I'm sure that's gonna be a question from the audience.
So this is high-speed internet, but we're going to be doing all these fiber optics throughout at least this area.
Town buildings.
But
Connection
do you see what I'm saying? There's an overlap between something that we're going to be doing broadly and then we're doing this. I don't, how does that, and
well, I mean, you have high-speed internet already if you want to pay for it in
Yeah.
your house,
Yeah,
right?
we do. It
There are two separate items here. This is to support government operations.
So it's gonna be a whole
Yeah, we're
separate
not
own
giving free internet to everybody in the town. I don't think. That would
so
be
would we be having wires only to our buildings? So our own internet's,
I think you need to have
isolated
Josh
system?
answer some of your questions.
I think so.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Well, the only problem is we really don't have that luxury.
Yeah,
No.
it gives the capability to put this, we don't really have internet up here. It gives him the ability to now put routers and things all over, which you have at home, right? Same thing, you have Wi-Fi at your home. You'd be able to do that and go to a higher bandwidth down. I'm talking tech crap now, sorry. But
No,
it's
no, I mean,
it enables him to do those kind of things that you just read out. So that helps me a little bit to understand where he's going with this.
okay, yeah.
But what does that cost? Is this
That's the question mark, right?
right, so the fiber optic comes to this building, what's it cost to get internet into the finance committee room, right? I mean,
You don't have,
And that's the, I don't know, that's not, I don't think that's part of this. I think this is just the fiber optic network. It's like putting
It's kind of like
the
putting
plumbing
road-
into your
right,
house.
Plumbing, yeah. And
Right?
then,
Oh, you'd like a bathroom?
Oh.
Hold on now, let me get a plumber.
All right.
And what's that cost you,
all
right?
right. Well,
So it could absolutely ramp things up.
since
and
we
we've all
have it,
seen
it might be, hey, we have this. This is what we need to follow up with. But oh yes, it's going to cost.
Well, there's it. Comcast now is saying they have 10 gig
Yeah. Oh yeah. yeah.
Ethernet, right?
who's,
Your
who's
phone
that
doesn't do that,
department? Who
right?
has Josh's department? Who's the?
liaison,
Yeah, liaison.
I'm not really sure,
Should be nice.
but it doesn't.
Should be Mike.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, it is. It
Mike.
definitely is Mike.
If it's not Mike, it is Mike.
It is Mike. Well,
It is
you
Mike
haven't,
now.
you haven't met with Josh yet.
Not yet, no. We figured we would wait until we got into these and then kind of,
Yeah.
I'm still, well.
I think
guess
it's
I'm
next
still
time to touch
relatively
base
new.
with him.
Well,
No,
You
I'd like
speak
to
the
see
same
what he's
language.
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be
Probably
perfect.
good.
I'll just read the description, just quick description from the Mass Gov It says municipal fiber grant program is a competitive grant program that will support the closing of critical gaps that exist in municipal networks. The provision of fiber in communities allows for centralized management of IT infrastructure, including an enterprise approach to network monitoring, cybersecurity, records management, and backup and recovery. A cohesive municipal network also creates opportunity to gain economies of scale by aggregate internet bandwidth, purchase of the associated security infrastructure.
So is there a,
So what you said.
is there like a fee, or annual fee for any of this?
Once it's in, isn't it?
It's just,
You pay for internet access, just like we do, right? The town has an internet bill.
The same thing.
is it gonna go up because it has
That's
fiber
exactly
optic?
Yeah.
No, it already is. I mean, I see what it's saying, yeah, but it opens up my other question, which is, it doesn't provide us security, it doesn't provide centralized management, it doesn't provide us aggregation of bandwidth. It enables you to then add those things, which there's money that's involved. So it definitely has to talk with the
Okay.
capital committee.
Yes.
Now, how
Okay.
we have to,
I have a plan to sort of what we're going to do.
How are we
with
gonna
it
ramp that
next.
up?
yeah.
It's
I mean, we're doing 2 buildings, that might be really hard to do over the next,
I feel as
How many
if
years?
sometimes you take a step in one direction, and probably simplifying what Mike's been saying all along. But you take it a step in one direction. It's like, ooh, I'm going to tell you my mini story. Oh, I'm going to get that cute little car and the convertible, and you take a step in it, and then you got to fix this thing, and then you need to do that thing. And I know it's not fixing, but it's you got to build this, and we forgot that add-on package and this, and for it to be complete. So it's really not the true total cost. I'd like to see the true total cost, and we should make a decision based on.
well, but
Or
this
estimate
part of
the
it,
cost.
this is the total cost. So
Yeah.
again, for our purposes here tonight, this gets him step one. He'll have to go back to the capital committee, to the board of selectmen, everybody else with that longer term plan and figure out how he's going to
If you get
add those other
here,
functions.
you move people, you move the dice to, you move the dice. It almost sort of creates it pulls back on people's decision to make a second. In for a dime, I get you for a dime, I get you for a dollar
Yeah.
mentality.
All right, further discussion on this article. It is a grant, right? And like, I guess there's some time sensitivity to it. Right? Okay. All in favor of Article 8?
You're gonna be okay.
Opposed? Abstain? 710. Okay, moving on to Article 9. See if the town will vote, for some reason I don't have a heading on this one.
Yeah.
To appropriate $142,793.50 from the Reserve for Appropriation Cable Access Account to fund the PEG access services in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 3/4, or take any other action relative thereto. Proposed by the town administrator. Cable access. So PEG access services, more technology,
That is,
DocuSign?
no, let me just see
That just-
what article. So this is an article that we have, it's public educational and governmental. And so this is money that's really not ours. This comes in and, you pay for it on your Comcast bill. It comes into the town and then we pay it out to WHCA every year. So they've requested, Eric Dresser has requested that whenever we have a special town meeting or an annual, just a process to get them their money quicker. And before it was just annually, and then they'd wait till July, and sometimes it was August or September. And so he said, you have a special, can you put it on? We did this last year, then we did it at the annual. I verified the money with the accountant on what we have on account. Hi there. And so this is just where the conduit, it passes through us to get to them.
Got it.
It's
All
not
right.
our money,
So it's just interesting that it's now part of the special town meeting permanently.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Anybody have, John?
Well, I'll move Article 9.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
I mean, second. John?
Are we making anything on holding off until like the end of the year or to the annual town meeting in interest?
Depends on what account the treasurer has that in. But yes, all of our accounts are interest-bearing accounts, anywhere from 2% to 5% probably right now. And of course, that changes, all the time.
Okay, and do we know the accountant's thoughts on dishing out the money earlier?
He wants to
Well,
make
it's their money.
He wants to make money on the float, right?
But they should be making money on their money.
I get it.
But it's like anything,
You going into banking anytime soon?
well, no, but I mean,
Yes.
if you have umpteen months before you actually
Have to pay.
historically release the money to the cable company, and you're getting whatever it is in interest in the meantime that is not going to the cable company.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the cable company. We're talking about WHCA. This is their money. It never actually used to come to the town. It used to go directly to them, if you remember.
No, it goes to
It's their money. Now it just comes to the town and we send it over.
I had
You know
a
what I mean?
quick
So
question.
it's really their money.
And I believe we did it last year, the special as well.
We did, yeah. We started it like
Right.
last year, doing it this way.
Yep.
But 142,000 at 4% might get you about 300 or 400 a month in interest.
Yeah. Rosemary, did you have something?
I thought latte. I had a question actually because we are sharing this cable with 2 different towns, just like the schools. How does that bill work out? I think we also supply building to them. We rent a building. Do we give or rent that building to them? And how does that work out? Because the cable is Whitman Hanson. So Hanson pays a portion of the bill. Is our use of our building, does it have a value towards our contribution, essentially?
So this isn't our contribution. I mean, this is money from the tax.
So
from the
it has
people
to
in
end up
Whitman.
going there anyway,
Right.
because it's
Correct.
part of your bill.
Part
that
of your
goes-
bill. Hanson would
Yeah.
have the same in
Yeah.
Hanson.
So
Just a pass through.
It's just a
we're just a
pass
pass through for that.
Yep.
Hanson would have the same through. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so
Okay.
further questions on this Article 9? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Rosemary, you voting?
I'm voting for it because
good.
it's a pass through.
Okay.
And it has an appropriate.
Just never saw your hand. 8-0.
Yep.
Busy writing.
It's video rating or something.
Article 10, to see if the town, well, actually, this is
Don't care.
not gonna be anything
11
for
is the
us.
next one.
Yeah, 11. See if the town raise and appropriate a sum of money to capital stabilization in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, or take any other action relative thereto. This is to capture any underestimated new growth which came in above our projection proposed by the Board of Selectmen. Mary Beth.
Well, we may end up passing over that if we don't have our new growth number. But if we do and new growth came in above our projection, then we could amend this on the floor and put that money in there so that we can move it into the capital stabilization. This was actually Justin's idea, Justin's article.
Shouldn't you have new growth by November 14th, no matter what, right?
We don't have it. We don't
You
have,
have
it
it
now,
currently
but
now, but the law says you have to have it in by a certain date, right?
I'm not positive on that
Okay,
date. But
yeah, it's the hearing is no.
I've checked with.
So by the 4th, you should have your new growth. I mean,
We need it by the 30th.
or we
Right.
definitely don't want outsourcing. You know, if that's the
don't
case,
have
if they're
it right
that late, we really don't want the outsourcing.
Okay, further questions on Article 11?
I just want to emphasize that we left $250,000 on the table last year that we badly needed. We can't afford not to tax the levy limit. So having excess levy information in a timely fashion is critical.
I want to add to that again that in the past there's been, was it over $1 million?
Yep.
And it was 504s, which are multi-million-dollar companies that did not pay those taxes. It wasn't regular tax-paying citizen. It was a Fortune 500 company. National Grid is a Fortune 500 company that got $1 million+ tax break from not collecting, not our citizens, but
Okay,
Those
well,
guys
that's,
said-
yep, but
on the
this
record.
article is gonna prevent that.
Could I
That's
just-
all.
that's why I want to support it.
Just for the excess levy, I mean, closing that and you'll never get it right to the penny for rounding and whatnot. But doing that is saying to the taxpayers, we're always going to tax you to the fullest amount possible. Now, we can, that's what, so you're not leaving any levy on there. If you have excess levy, that means that you didn't tax everybody to the fullest amount possible. So closing that is saying that we're always going to, no matter what, do that.
Collect the new growth, correct?
We're going to tax people to the fullest
So,
amount.
That's
so
the premise of the salary.
clarification, point of clarification, new growth is not everyone. New growth is only newly constructed
On
things.
talking excess levy.
Yeah,
Okay.
excess.
Excess is new
I
growth.
absolutely agree with you,
Okay.
Mary Beth.
But
And
that's-
Okay,
if this town ever gets to a point in its history where it doesn't have to tax to the levy limit, there will be a cause for celebration.
Right.
But we are not a town that has money. It's like trying to figure out when your kids are going to college, which bill do I not have to pay this month?
been there.
Yeah. And then when that's over, it's like, whoa, I don't have to spend that much money anymore. I can actually save some money for my 401k and my retirement.
So
Yes.
that's what I wanted to
kids in-
say,
yeah.
is we do have mechanism in place this year, and it's only can be done really at the very last minute when they're setting the tax rate.
Get it.
They can set that tax rate at that time. They're going to know what the excess levy is, if anything. And there's a couple of mechanisms in place that I want to make sure that we look at, and we can adjust the estimates or the overlay. And doing those two things will take that excess levy, if there is one,
Yep.
down to, an amount that's
A
very
reasonable
minimal.
amount,
Right.
$10,000.
Or 12,000 around, they Kathy says, something like that. Yep.
All right, very
Okay,
good.
so
Thank you for that
sorry.
clarification.
Adjusting the overlay really quickly. Kind of the problem with the National Grid for not having enough overlay means that we don't have enough to cover. So I mean,
Oh, yeah, no.
You'd have
you
enough.
have to still meet the parameters to cover everything that you need,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Thank you.
But those are the two ways,
That you're
speaking with the
gonna-
DOR, that we can adjust
Maneuver.
things, maneuver, so that there's not an excess levy, large amount left.
Okay, very good. Further questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second on Article 11. All in favor?
Did we? Okay.
I don't think we did a
Okay.
No, I moved Article 11.
Move,
Second.
motion and a second by Mike. All in favor? It is unanimous. Okay, Article 12, right to farm, that's not us. So we
that
can-
is us, because isn't it a tax
money.
issue?
No money.
Isn't it for
No money.
tax collection?
Nobody.
To put a farm, right to farm building tax.
It might
We're a
look like
community.
grant eligibility in the future,
Right.
but that's a couple of steps.
Right,
Yeah,
So, okay,
it's not money.
later.
I would recommend it anyway, but
So we should cross off the recommendation of the finance. The capital committee voted on that?
No.
On which one?
The right to farm?
Right to farm?
No.
No, good.
No.
Okay. So, page 4, page 5. Section 6, Article 13.
13.
Okay, so Article 13, see if the town will vote to approve the $135,289,673 borrowing authorized by the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District for the purpose of paying costs of demolishing the existing Whitman Middle School and constructing a new Whitman Middle School at 100 Clothell Ave in the town of Whitman, Massachusetts, including the payment of all costs incidental or relative thereto, which said new school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the district may be eligible for a school construction grant from the MSBA. Said amount to be expended at the direction of the Whitman School Building Committee. The MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need, as determined by the MSBA, and any project cost the district incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district and its member municipalities. Any grant that the district may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 1/63 and 31/100% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, and that the amount of borrowing authorized by the district shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the district and the MSBA, or take any other action relative thereto. So the motion, which is written a little differently.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, very similar. Yeah.
Very similar.
Okay, so the motion is very similar to that wording that was just read. This is proposed by the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District. The Capital Expenditure Committee,
From the date to nothing to
Yes.
approve.
Yep.
actually, It's not called the capital expenditure
No,
committee
it's
anymore.
capital committee, and that's changed in the final
Okay.
version.
And it was an 8-0?
There you go.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Let
Second.
me take that back, was it 7-0? Frank wasn't there, I think there's one vacant seat. Capital Committee was
Right, I just.
I'm gonna say
Well,
who's there.
Beth,
Right, that's what I'm doing.
Josh, Dawn, me, and Fred. It was 7-0.
It was 7.
Because
But everything was 7-0.
And there's a vacancy on the committee. So all of the capital committee recommendations were unanimous 7-0.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, we have a motion by John, second
Second.
by Mike. Okay, discussion. Article 13.
I had a question. There's a lot of hoo-ha out in the public, and I want to see if anyone has a cheaper option that still provides a school for children. With a lot of people that were on the committee or past finance committee would give the impression to the public that this is not a bill. Does anyone present a cheaper option than this one?
I haven't seen anything.
Does it exist?
No.
Has there been discussion that there's another option to
The one
provide?
I've heard is to have a 6 through 8 with, I think that was discussed, 6 through 8 with no audit, with a cafeteria.
And now, to go back, it would not be cheaper. You would have to go back.
I don't know how far you'd have to go back.
May I?
Go ahead.
No, because you will not get reimbursed. So the choice that they made, because
It affects the.
the way that it was built was the best choice that it was made so that you get the highest reimbursement back from MSBA,
Okay,
if I am remembering correctly
Oh.
from the meetings.
Yeah.
from the meeting. So, I just, because we are responsible for finances going forward, and we are to look back at failed mistakes financially in the past. And there's a lot of stuff out there saying, don't build, this is irresponsible. And we've heard this, and we've seen this happen with the DPW building, the initial building, which ended up being, how many millions?
22 million instead of 9.
Imagine a building this size, housing so many more citizens with, meeting criteria from both our capital. Our capital committee, one of the first criteria is it unhealthy? Yes, meets all of that. Meeting all of these bullet points over and over again. It is, I feel as if we need to not only vote for this, but advocate and caution people to think reasonably on if you have an alternative, present it. Don't present it. Put it out there. Say this is our alternative. If you don't, then it is highly irresponsible to present that there might be.
Yes, go ahead.
So maybe you can fill in. I tried to watch. I know obviously a bunch of guys have spent a lot more time on this, and I appreciate everybody who's put all their time in. I've watched some of the meetings and stuff, but and I know when John Galvin resigned from the committee, but he put forth an option of a little bit of a scale down, worried about like if we go too high, are we going to get a no vote? We got all this stuff. So enlighten me on that. Fill me in. What harm does that do if the project was scaled down a little bit to save some of that 20-odd million?
So I talked to Mike Carroll, who is the OPM, the Owner's Project Manager, for the Middle School Building Committee. I talked to him today to say if there were a suggestion of a scaled back building, 6 through 8, no auditorium. That was John's effort
Right.
at August 28th.
That sounds it.
Would the MSBA entertain it at this stage in the process? Because not you just, Chuck, but everyone needs to appreciate is the MSBA has deadlines. This project was submitted back in February as the project. Then the financing of it was developed for this project. If you submit a new project that on paper looks cheaper, you have to go through the whole, it's called Form 3011, all of the ineligible costs, all of the ineligible space. Then you get 63.31% of the eligible space. The cost per square foot is capped at $393. Right now, the construction costs are estimated to be $770. MSBA will only give us $393 towards the $770 of the eligible costs. So it's not as simple as saying, I've got a cheaper building for you. You may think it's cheaper. Back from February 28th, when on paper, compared to 3 other options, it was $10 million less expensive. But the $122 million building in January became a $125 million project. Some of the costs are contingency funds that weren't ever even considered back in January. So there is a lot of detail that's missing from the full story that you need to get into the weeds to figure out. Because I was one of the people who asked for the August 28th meeting. I said, wait a second, I'm new to this committee. This went from 122 to 135, and last Tuesday we said okay. And I needed to be convinced that we were being fiscally responsible. So at this stage of the game, Mike Carroll will get back to me because the MSBA actually wants us to build a healthy building for our kids. They're not going to throw roadblocks up and say, you gave us this project and it's too late for you to change. So Mike will confirm with the people at the MSBA whether or not a different project that has been part of the pipeline all along. It's not coming out of, from aliens from outer space. It was part of the preliminary design program back in January. Whether they will entertain a substitute, and he will get that information from the MSBA, not from me and not from any other former committee or current committee member who's going to save the town money. And if the MSBA says yes, well, then there's something to talk about. His inclination, given his 15 years of experiences, it's not going to happen. And we will be right back we will withdraw. We'll lose the $45 million grant. We will have to withdraw from the MSBA grant program. Then we'll have to resubmit a statement of interest to go all the way back to April 2019. So 4 years ago when this started, 4 years from today, we'll be at the point, if we're lucky, of going forward with the building.
Okay.
But there's one, will
more money
we
and a
lose,
lesser building.
will we lose our plans that we've already paid for? That was reimbursed.
The feasibility study of
So-
$850,000.
You have to do it all over again. That's
They won't reimburse it.
Reimburse
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Right
yeah,
now,
yeah,
it's going to be
yeah, I understand
reimbursed
that.
to the tune of about 63%.
So
thank you.
as soon as they get back to you,
Yeah.
this is really where I want to key in on. As soon as he gets back to you, and it sounds like he's kind of almost told you
He's
no.
happy that I called.
He's happy that you called. He's
I need
almost.
to know the answer before I say this will not happen. I'm not going to invent an answer. When I get the answer from Mike, who will get it from the MSBA, I will share that with them.
But the people out there saying that it will happen clearly haven't talked to Mike because they already have the answer. So they haven't gotten.
Committee, so they can't call
They
me.
they don't have. I mean, it just feels so irresponsible to say right now. The most reasonable, financially responsible thing is something that might seem larger than you'd want.
Right now, the two options are repair the school for $60 million. and
All on
get
our own.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing
Right.
from the state.
Yeah.
Or for $30 million more, fix it and have a 21st century education and so many.
And there's not a third option.
There's not a third option.
So I'd like to
And
just,
Mike Carroll getting back to me.
Okay.
Right. I'd like to recognize too the efforts of the building committee, because I mean, that can't be understated. We're talking about a committee that has studied this project inside and out, and the recommendation for them is to go forward
Yes.
with this project. And I would have to say the same thing, even though it's not really related, but I think these two big, huge capital projects have been vetted by a committee that was, formed to look at the most responsible action that this town can take. And as someone that was on the DPW building committee back 15 years ago, and worked diligently to get something to the taxpayers that didn't accept it, I can see we're going to have another, we have to learn from our mistakes, really. So I don't think there's anything that I would consider other than to support both projects, including this article.
The way that you put it is extremely well done. It's going to cost us $60 million to just have what we have and patch it for an additional 30 million, which, you know, I don't have that in my back pocket, but that's a very little bit when you really consider we will have a brand new building that lasts for a long time.
So we'll have to rebuild
It's-
soon for the rebuild.
We're already spending 60 either way.
What's the term when you have a car and it hits that threshold point? There's a name for it. When your car starts,
Diminishing return?
when you start to, yeah, you have a diminishing return, yeah, from your car.
Poop box, we used to call it.
Yeah,
Hey,
which it turns
you've
into-
gone from being my car to being my poop box. Okay.
Yes.
The $60 million, can I just clarify that that was only to bring the building up to code?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It was not to
Housing,
repair the building, just bring it up to code so that students can reside in the building. And you will also have the excess cost for the trailers or wherever the kids will be educated off-site while the repairs are being done. So
Disruption
you're
to
gonna
the
be up to the price
Yep.
for a brand new school, and the schools that,
The fields will be fixed, that swamp behind the existing middle school where I've watched my grandchildren play, try to play soccer. That's going to be relocated to the front. The drainage issues are going to be addressed. So there are all sorts of benefits to doing this project that people are short-sighted if they don't appreciate that. Just go watch your kids play soccer in the rain,
Yeah.
and they're up to
Right.
their knees in mush.
was it long-term solvency, these are all like budgetary things. All of the recommendations that have made not to build these go against every policy we put forward for long-term planning and strategic planning. And it goes against unless you have something, a solution to drive people into a dangerous financial place, it's going to be a financial wave, but it's better than a financial tsunami.
Yeah. All right, we have Don Byers. Don, did you want to speak on, as someone that represents the school committee?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I defer to Kathleen as the vice chair on the building committee, so thank you
It's
for
okay.
recognizing.
Just wanted to recognize that you were here
Yeah,
and,
no.
go ahead.
And I will say, I've spent hours
Yeah.
figuring out this budget and challenging it, and I know how to fill out a 3011 if anyone's looking to hire.
We'll call you.
And thank you, Rick, for acknowledging. I've only been on the committee since March, and Justin's been in since May. The people who've been there since October 20th, 2020, they've spent 3 years
Yeah.
meeting. And the people who show up to forums give up time from their family lives to find out what's this all about. So this is not we really want this building. It's the Taj Mahal of buildings.
Yeah.
It's comparable to what Abington has for its junior senior high, what Rockland has, what
East Bridgewater.
East Bridgewater. We're not building anything that other children in that incredibly interesting age group have that they go to. And our kids are going to something that has, I'm going to say it, mold, sewer gases, and mouse droppings. It's disgusting.
No windows.
Right.
No windows. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a commentary to build off of that. If you have a moment, please read the statement of interest from April 2019. It is on the WMSproject.org website, and it's 26 pages, but you can scroll through because some of the pages are not applicable. But it gives you the history back also to 2000 when the town invested in additions to Duval and Conley and renovations to Whitman Middle. And I do recall hearing from Mr. Farrow that those additions on Conley and Duval were funded with one bucket of money, and those additions were done, and Whitman Middle got the leftover. And they didn't have all the renovations done that were anticipated. Those that were done, windows were put in, but the statement of interest will tell you that the windows were installed incorrectly. Now, one could say someone should have been watching and gone back, but the fact is the windows are inside out, they're backwards or something.
Upside down.
Upside down. It just goes on and on, and I invite you to come to a building tour. So they are happening this coming Sunday, 10 a.m. to 2 on the 15th. And then the community forum is Monday the 16th, and then on the 21st, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2, also is a building tour. So if you did the DPW building tour, please come and enjoy.
Can you send those dates to me and I'll forward them to the
I'd be happy
committee?
to.
And it should be out front, because thank you to whoever puts the electronic board out front. It now has the middle school information.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So
But I will email it to you just briefly, just,
Sure.
you know, so you don't have to see all the fancy.
Now that you said the windows are upside down, I'm coming. I really want to see
Awning
that.
type windows that when you're supposed to prevent the water from coming in.
They
Slide
invite
it
it in.
in.
Oh
And
my
the-
goodness.
So water slide
Come
window.
in right after.
Called a hopper
Yeah.
window.
So
Come
there
in
is a
before
financial
here,
cost.
and the cracks in the concrete, which that can happen, settling and so forth. It just,
Yeah.
it's quite.
Mary Beth, did you want to add something?
I do, because I think it's going to come up on the floor, and I think that people are going to say, how much is it going to cost me? And it's going to come down to
Right.
level debt or level principal.
We don't make that choice, do we? Doesn't the school?
Well, I think the school is the conduit. I mean, we're voting on the school and we're paying it.
Okay.
100% Whitman. So yes, Whitman absolutely, I feel, should be making the decision. But I think that people are going to be saying, well, I need to know what it's costing me.
Right, yeah.
And how is that going to be answered on the floor?
Fair enough. Well, one of the answers is if it's level principal,
Yes.
where 1/30th of the 90 million
Right.
is paid off, it's the scare tactic is your taxes are going up 26%. Well, yeah, the first year. The next year it goes down.
All the way to the
And
end.
as I've said, at this stage in my life, I'm going to be paying the first 10 years, and at the highest premium, $1,400 a year. 30 years from now, I don't think I'll be sitting at this table.
But it won't be
arguing this.
$1,400 a year. Remember, it's going to decrease
It's
every
going to,
year
but it'll be like $594
at the end.
At the end. So the average is $1,017.
1,071, 1,017,
And I'll
1,011,
have the
something like
numbers
that.
correct.
Yep, I will. as well.
Compared to the 20-year bond, and I know it's 20 versus 30, but you can't fund a $60 million repair for 30 years because it has to exceed the life expectancy of the bond. And that,
Oh, I'm not even talking about a repair.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about for the new school. We need
Yes.
a new school.
Well-
If we're comparing level debt to level principal,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
people are going to say, what is it going to cost me? And I don't know that the answer is going to be there on the night of town meeting.
I think we're talking about it on Wednesday. I think it's on our agenda in 48 hours at school committee.
At school.
Okay.
What that
You have to
costs.
have an estimate.
24 hours.
Well, there's two estimates, and the difference, just so the FinCom knows, the difference between level debt and level principal for the same amount, to go with level debt is costing $90 million more. $90 million over the 30 years.
19.
Excuse me?
19, not 90.
90 million.
No, 19. If we go level debt
Level debt.
versus level
Yeah.
payment,
So it's 20 million.
it's not
Could be
90
90 million.
Honestly,
Let me say-
Mary Beth, this
No, I'm sorry. It's late. It's late. I'm really
You're back.
tired.
It was a 9.
Talk about scare tactics.
It was a 9.
Yeah.
Don't make
So
that
yeah,
mistake.
19. No, I
sound like John
won't, 'cause I don't even
That's
have
why
it.
you're here tonight.
It's 19 million. I mean, that's
It sounds like a
I think it's more than that, and I mean it's more than that. I'm with Kat. I understand Kathy's perspective, but we're supposed to be switching to a different financial system. And we're supposed to be switching to revolving debt. So we're supposed to be letting this simmer off and then borrowing, say, in 10 years for the next building. We have. But I also want to talk a little bit about hidden debt that's already within our budget, where how we paid for police stations and other capital items are all kind of tucked within our budget.
What do you mean? Explain that.
Okay, if you could pay for a police station out of your levy,
Which it was done that way for the first few years.
yeah.
Then we move
So
it up.
it's not
where
sustainable.
the money's still in the levy. If you're rolling forward all those budgets, it's still in the levy. So this hidden debt, kind of really reviewing how we were paying for things, and then look at capital. I think
But that strapped us so much that we were unable to do
Right.
the projects. We had to vote
We
it
had to pull it
outside.
out.
Pull it up.
yeah.
A couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
This is a transition, so to handle buildings and building, and we and I do want to reference a chart. And Sean, you're in the room, and I wanted to mention this. Like, we need to have a reasonable expectation for capital that meets, because we can have a threshold, but a threshold has to meet the objective. I can't just give a 12% number, and it has to meet erosion at the same rate. The law that governs that is 5% of your levy, of your EQV, not your levy. And you should stick with an EQV number, whether it be 1% or not, because your EQV is an honest number of the ability to pay, and to strap a 12% and not recognize that maybe you're going to have to do 3 buildings at the same time, like we do, could end up costing us more later. Like if we don't do this building now, it's going to cost us more later. So although there is financial parameters, they have to meet the objective and the need. That's, they can't just be arbitrary. Where the 12% came from, I don't know.
I think I'm going to go to Sean first so he can explain the chart. I did watch the Board of Selectmen meeting. I was a little concerned the way that was presented as well. Maybe you can just talk about how you came to develop the chart. I'm more concerned with the levy as a flat line on your chart, right? I mean, the levy isn't a flat
The
line.
levy wasn't a flat line on the chart. It was, the way we worked with the consultant to do it was, we looked at our financial policy, and then based on the financial policy, there's a proportional relationship between our levy and how much we should
Have debt,
have debt.
right? Yeah.
Again, within reason, but it's supposed to give you a general rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So 12% is what's in our current policy. The 12%, 20 years ago, the total levy was only whatever it was, like 15 or 20 million.
Right.
20 years ago. And today it's like 30 million roughly, and 20 years from now it's going to be like 50 million or whatnot. But that chart does take into account that change.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Which obviously we wanted that to be accurate based on the numbers that we had years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Again, I think it shows the severity of the decision that we have to make. I mean, that we compare the high school and how affordable the high school would seem to be, and the police station compared to the current middle school. Based on the policy that we have, you can see comparably that one is much higher than the other. So that is a concern, something that obviously the finance committee should be concerned about.
Right. So we're also concerned about how little debt we had in years past, too. For the last 5 years, we were under where we should have been, right? So
It does say, you said the policy. In the debt management policy, it mentions Chapter 44. And in that, it's 5%, that the law says 5%, it uses the EQV to utilize it. So we should be utilizing an EQV amount, not a levy.
These things is slightly different. I think these things are all relevant, but what we currently have written and what we have, this Board of Selectmen have supported, should guide a little bit of our policy, and people can understand like what we're trying to do. Like many of the discussions
I don't
tonight,
understand that 3 million does 3 buildings.
Don't interrupt,
Yeah.
please.
We're trying to implement policy that's going to help keep us or move us into a better and better financial ground. And this debt management policy is one of those things. And
But your presentation would seem to indicate you weren't in support of this building project. Is that true?
well, for me, it was trying to be objective, giving an analysis of our debt in comparison to our debt management policy. So if you're looking at our debt management policy, it's not in line with it. It's drastically outside of it. So
Right.
it's hard to. I was trying to take my opinion out of it, and I was just giving an analysis of our debt pertaining to our policy.
Right.
So
The debt management policy would create more cost. Giving $3 million towards,
I
or
know your argument is this is our only choice.
Right, well, that's
It's
the
not
third
just-
option. Where is it? Where's the third option?
where's the third option? That isn't my argument. It really isn't. And it isn't an argument at all. It is when you have construction of buildings or spaces, you cannot control certain elements like erosion. And there should be, once you build it, a plan in place to meet that 10 years. We're up to 10 years. As part of a failure in the capital committee over the years and our structure. But then to say we're going to have this one restraint and a restraint that would cause a later financial problem, like we saw with the DPW, and try to call it financially responsible, I don't see how it jives.
Yeah. Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
again, you're drawing the connection that this is our only option, therefore we should take it.
If it
Otherwise,
isn't,
it's gonna
please
be
give another
drastically
one.
more. I think there's 1,000 decisions that go into building a building. And one of the things, obviously, I mentioned at the meeting that I think that they should consider if this doesn't pass, is a regional option. We're a fully regionalized school system now. When we built the middle school, we weren't. So that's like a real obvious avenue for exploration.
So Hanson should pay a portion of it?
Rosemary, could you
Of course,
stop?
in a regional
I'm trying to
option,
understand
those
what
are
he means
those
by
are
a
the
regional
benefits
option.
of being in a region is sharing building costs. I mean, that's why we do it, you know. But again, when the middle school was built, we weren't fully regionalized. It's only 9 to 12. You know, so that would be, for me, an obvious, like, could we build a middle school with Hanson, or could we put an addition on the high school? Those are options that could potentially open up other avenues, but I don't have all the solutions. I'm saying we're in a difficult spot, and what are we going to do?
This is the first time I've heard this publicly. If it was something
Kathleen.
feasible.
I appreciate how challenging this is for everyone. I have just one piece of information. And Mary Beth, this was from Kathy Keefe, gave me these numbers. It's the level principal versus the level debt.
Correct.
The 30-year, let me make sure I'm reading the right thing. Level principal averages out to $1,017.
That's the average.
Average
of,
over
correct.
30 years. The
I agree.
last year is $595 and the first year is $1,494.
That's right.
Level principal, which is it's like your mortgage, you're paying the same amount every year for 30 years. It's $1,163. So
That's
it's $1,163 versus $1,017.
Right. The difference is one option of doing the level is costing $19 million more for the town over the life of the 30 years.
You and I have had this exchange.
We have. And I just want people
Yes,
to know
I
that that's
agree.
the difference.
I agree.
Do we want to pay $19 million more? I think that that's short-sighted to say that it's just a little difference when really it's a $19 million difference to go with a level debt over a level principal.
Is there a third option, which would be level debt for 10 years, then size up the bonding situation and rewrite it?
But interest rates could be higher.
You're right. And so now we're locked into the current interest rate, and it's like things aren't any better, so we're just going to
So
stay.
leave it
So
there.
you pay $19
Yeah,
million more than the first option.
But you have to realize what 19 million is going to be worth 30 years from now, or even 20 years from now, right? 19 million, it's going to be, really, it's not going to be as much of an impact on a taxpayer
To an
in
individual
20 years as it, that it sounds like now. There's a lot of taxpayers in this community that are going to contribute to offset that 19 million. I think the thinking is that's something that the person's personal budget can support. As someone that's divorced and gives half my pension to my ex-wife, these are things I think about. How much more can I afford? I would pay $1,500 a month, a year more on my taxes to fund this. I feel it's that important. It doesn't matter. I go one less day per trip each time or something. For me, this is an important big part of being a citizen
But
of
it's
Whitman.
not each year. The 1494.01
Right.
is the highest year
Exactly.
and drops down every year to the 500 and some
Right.
odd.
But for somebody else, that the difference between 14 and 11, it's pretty significant.
And that's what I'm
Yeah,
afraid.
right.
Let
Yeah,
that
right.
decision be made. You're saying the decision will be made because you're voting on that
Yeah.
in a
It's an agenda item
for what night? I better go.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Guess I'm going.
Sean.
Plans.
But there have been no numbers provided in our packet. I can say that because the packet is more or less public.
Okay.
It's just been questions like, if we consider this, or consider this, consider this.
All right, I won't spend too much more time. It's obviously a big issue, Sean.
Sorry, I'll be
Beyond
quick.
the scope.
Something I think the finance committee should consider is moving forward with building projects. You know, is this with the middle school and the decisions that we make now pertaining to like debt and that kind of stuff, and then with other projects coming on the books, we want to be thinking as policymakers as big picture number of projects moving forward, not just this particular.
Right?
I agree with that.
No doubt.
That the
And we're well aware that the South Shore Boat Deck has another project coming up,
Coming up
you know,
fast.
We're
fast.
talking about that $19 million. We're spending it anyway because it's going to roll into another project essentially as it goes. The savings will matter because we'll be paying for something else as it rolls off. Cutting it back 19 million is going to make a difference because, it does matter. It does count. In terms of, I want to think about this vote. I want to know why we haven't presented this whole regional option. Why has that been kind of undercover? If there's a third option for the public that is not public,
To be clear, there's no formal third option.
okay,
There
then
would
it'd be irresponsible not to vote without on the table.
If a building project fails, then you go back to the drawing board. The regional option was considered years ago. I think a number of times actually. So
It didn't work. Is that?
I don't think Hanson wanted it, they didn't need it or didn't want it at the time, so we were in two different places. But here's your challenge is you can't say, I'm not gonna vote on this because I don't have 30 options in front of me to choose from. The committee has spent 4 years saying, this is the best option.
Exactly.
We have to look at the option that they're giving to us. If the town says no, then everything starts all over again. Maybe we revisit all those things. But right now,
They've done
this
the
is
work.
what's in front of us.
Yeah.
We can't wish for more things because we don't have it. That was their job.
And they
was to
did
get rid
it.
of
I
those.
do think we
Yeah,
did it.
and they did it well.
It's really upsetting that people who did it, made those votes, are now out there telling us not to vote for it. Then why did you bring us to this point?
Well, I think as a finance committee, we need to really send a message of what we think is the most fiscally responsible. John, did you want to add something?
Well, I think I got an answer. The option of what it's going to actually cost somebody out of pocket in their taxes.
Well, that'll be definitely on the floor of town meeting.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely going to be a question, and we will have it. We'll have one option as far as whether it's going to start out at 1,400 or it's going to be
Start at
1,100 straight through. We're going to know that.
I thought the district votes on that. They don't?
It's the district's borrowing, it's based on the district's credit rating, which isn't as high as the town's credit rating. So John Stambrook gave us he said if I were to go out and borrow today, it would be 5.5%. That is what we plugged in based on what John said. But again, at town meeting, I'll have both charts. It's whether or not it's their borrowing. But like when we did the feasibility study, John called me and said, are you rolling over your van? Are you paying it off? It's not their decision. We're the ones paying it. So I said, yeah, we're going to roll over the ban. So it would be the same thing here. I
They
think
just said on the news that the interest rates are most likely going to jump up again. How soon are we going to... What?
Of course.
I mean, yeah, well, everything's going up.
What's going on?
There's a war going on. We're going to end up... So how soon, once they do this, do they borrow from the vote?
Well, it depends, and I think that's part of the discussion.
This might be a
whether
nice
it's gonna ban
cheap way to...
or
I mean,
bond
at
right
the
away.
last month's meeting, I felt like
This was
I
good
argued,
finance, yeah.
we need to make this decision. If it's the district's decision, and then it was bantered back and forth, well, the town, and we
Right.
want to be considerate of the town, and maybe the town, so the conversation sort of just laid there, like maybe the district can
Work with
let the
the
town,
town.
or work with them. But I really hope that a decision is made tomorrow night with the school committee, one way or another, so that the townspeople know.
Well, that was my fear, that at the evening of the town
absolutely
meeting,
should know. Yeah.
I
Yeah, you don't wanna leave any questions
1,100 or
in the
1,494. Well, we'll know in 3 years when we actually go and borrow.
But it's
Yeah.
more than
People
that.
need to know
Yes.
when they vote.
It's
And-
all-
Trust me,
but
yes,
they're-
the trust me.
Individuals are already, but we have a DPW that we already said okay, and our taxes already went up. So it's not 11 or 14, it's whatever that, I don't remember what that number was, but add that to it. And again, we have folks in this town that $300 in a year, that's a lot.
Have we any outreach for the new governor's tax credits and other things and circuit breaker? I said this before when I know our formulas now that we voted in, but is there a lot of outreach for seniors and others that disabled and others?
through the COA.
Yeah, there's got to be real
There's-
outreach with anything that we do to make sure
Mary
that
does a good
we're
job with
protecting
that, and
people.
I know they have people that come over for that.
Yeah.
So the real question will be at the ballot box, really. I
Right.
mean, our recommendation here is for town meeting, but we still have to get through the ballot box.
We
So
didn't vote?
Let's,
No.
no, then I think we're prepared to do
We just
that.
had the town meeting
That
here,
was a
so.
discussion.
You got a taste
No,
of what's
I
going
think
on
it's
now.
really good that we simulate the town meeting for Mary Beth, so she's
Yeah.
My head is pounding, I'll
Yeah.
just tell you right now.
We've already got that $90 million figure out of
Yes.
our head. That's the biggest step.
19.
My God, Mary Beth, you just got me scared.
You know
I'm
All
going
right,
to go help
John,
build it.
real quick, and then we're gonna go to a vote.
I forget my Robert's rules, but can I move the question?
Yeah, good point. All right, all in favor of Article 13? It is unanimous. Thank you. I think that's very important. Okay, so that's Article 13, Article 14. DPW project. See if the town will vote to appropriate $1,143,271.15 to pay the additional cost of the Department of Public Works building project, so-called, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto. To determine whether such amounts shall be raised by transfer from excess funds originally borrowed. So is this new wording, or do you have, is this town council?
That's bond council's wording.
Okay. Or appropriated to pay costs of various other capital projects or take any other action relative thereto. So this spells out, to meet this appropriation, $729,414 shall be transferred from excess amounts originally borrowed to make water sewer or water system improvements related to intersection improvements at the intersection of routes 18, 14, and 27, as authorized under Article 2 of the warrant to the special town meeting on December 11th, 2017. $68,855.10 shall be transferred from excess amounts originally appropriated to pay costs of sewer easement, surveying, testing as authorized under Article 4 of the warrant of the special town meeting held on December 11th, 2017. $14,801.96 shall be transferred from excess amounts originally appropriated to pay costs to repairs to sewer force mains as authorized under Article 5 of the warrant of the special town meeting held on December 11, 2017. $36,000 shall be transferred from the excess amounts originally appropriated to pay costs of a permanent mount generator for the Belcher Drive sewer pumping station as authorized under Article 15 of the warrant at the special town meeting held on May 6th and June 17th, 2019, and $294,207 shall be transferred from excess amounts originally appropriated to pay costs of engineering and consulting services for the replacement of the sewer force main connecting the town sewer system to the Brockton Advanced Wastewater Reclamation Facility, as authorized under Article 4 of the warrant at the special town meeting held on December 2nd, 2019.
One sentence.
One sentence? That is one sentence.
My eyes still twitching.
This was proposed by the Department of Public Works. Capital
7-0.
Committee, taking out expenditure. Voted 7-0 to support. I'll entertain a motion from the Finance Committee.
I move Article 14.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I'm going to have the same
All
procedural.
right, okay, so you're a little uncomfortable with all of the transfers from other, yep.
Yes.
So my question is, all of the projects where these funds, excess funds are being transferred from, they were completed?
Right,
They were completed
Okay.
or not done.
or almost completed, and they left a little bit to finish the project.
We're not canceling any projects
No.
to make the transfer.
The
And
mount
with-
generator was
They were
not done.
certified to the accountant that they were
Hold on, they
The
were
only exception
almost
there-
completed and they left an amount.
in just one of the articles. They left a little bit of money to finish the project. They ran that by bond council. Bond council's fine with it.
Okay.
Yep.
So Mary Beth, so one of them wasn't done. The permanent mount generator for the Belcher Drive sewer pumping station, as I understand, was not done. They found some alternative to doing that. As far
But it's
as I
been
know.
solved. The problem was that it.
Right.
Don't need the-
So you're right, the problem
Okay, I
was
just want to make sure
resolved.
we aren't,
Yeah,
because
Not
that would
going
make
back.
me feel very
Oh, no.
uncomfortable.
We're not saying we'll pass on this now. Right.
Again,
And then we'll
a
just
floor
take it
question
back.
you could easily get from.
Absolutely.
I-
Yep.
okay, good question. Anybody else
Just
question?
don't move to Belcher Drive.
Well,
They have everybody's outhouses down. They've got
That's-
a cup.
Down from my house.
it's raining again this week. Yeah, so-
Yeah, right.
All right, further questions on Article 14? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstain. So we got 710,
710.
okay?
It's fun
And-
being the party pooper.
So that's Article
You'll all look back and go, oh, that's why she made it work. That's how it always works.
And then Article 15, we're almost to the end here, folks. Thank you for hanging in there. To see if the town will appropriate $2.2 million to pay the additional costs of designing and construction and equipping a new DPW, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and determine whether this appropriation shall be raised by a borrowing or otherwise, or take any other action relative thereto. So the motion that the town appropriate $2.2 million to any additional costs of designing, construction, and equipping a new DPW, including the payment of all costs incidental and relative thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7-1, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes to the town therefore. While the bonds and notes issued under the authority of this vote will be general obligations of the town, payable from all sources of revenue, it is the town's intent to pay debt service in the first instance from the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund. And this is proposed by the Department of Public Works Commissioners. Capital Committee 7-0.
7-0.
Okay, and the comment at the bottom says the Board of Selectmen voted to apply $2.2 billion in available Plymouth County ARPA funds to the sewer force main project authorized under Article 5 of the May 3rd, rescheduled to June 2nd annual town meeting. This will reduce the total amount to be borrowed for the sewer force main project by the amount requested above in Article 15. If approved, it is the town's intent to pay debt service for both the sewer force main project and the additional borrowing for the DPW building project from the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. The net effect of the rate increase for both projects is lower than the original projected rate increase for only the sewer force main project. This is due to the application of the Plymouth County ARPA funds and the sewer force main project coming in under budget. So a little explanation there.
I move Article 15.
We have a motion?
Second.
And a second.
I want to credit Mary Beth for that solution. She
That's
came
right.
up with it a long time ago with using that money. Finally,
Justin
Justin
as
was in
well.
on that.
yeah, but I know I think it originated from you when you were in the, because I think I used it when I was running. I got to credit you for that. That's something you said
Oh.
we'd used it for something else. And,
Oh, way back, a
way
year
back
ago, I
when
had
you
said I
said
wanted
that,
to use opera
and then I
funds
used
for
the
something that went out.
I said the same thing during the run, and I stole that from you. We're now. I credit you for work that you do. I don't let somebody else's work go.
All right,
uncredited
discussion
for.
on Article 15. Any other questions, comments?
I think you'd have the same basic question, which is what will this cost me? Especially coming right after the previous two where we allocated money, right? So just be prepared for that.
Well,
You
this
want
is
the
take,
explanation?
go ahead.
No, I've already had it, so I get it, but that, I expect that you'll hear that, it's probably wise to do the school first. If you wait to the end, I think the people would just say, I've spent this, I've spent that, I'm not doing the school.
I would so imagine all these cut rates. What would the project have been total? And we're looking at the same situation with the school funding, and we've allocated that to every other department and not towards that project.
So the DPW, so which one
I'm talking about every article that we had for the schools.
was general fund money when it was appropriated, right?
Yep.
And it's going back to general fund.
But it was allocated towards the school, right?
That's right,
The same
yep.
thing. The same thing. I mean, we could lower the water rate. You know what I mean? We could do the same thing and reduce it for taxpayers instead of using it this way. What I'm saying is, the project didn't go down. We just were creative about how we utilized money. So I was thinking, can we be more creative about how we utilize money now to reduce the middle school project, just like you were really creative about doing it, commendably so, for this building. That's just a hope.
Well, in simplest forms, we're using one-time money to pay a capital project, right? Which is what it's supposed to be used for, right?
And it's limited in what you can use the
Right.
opera fund.
Yeah.
The ARPA funds are
Yeah,
very,
but
very
very-
strict.
And
Yeah.
ARPA funds could be used for the middle school too, can't they?
Can't be used for a building project.
No, I looked at.
No.
we
No,
talked
ARPA
about that
funds.
last time.
Nope. Couldn't use it for the DPW building project. That was
This is
my
where I'd like to
original.
see all capital.
There was
seen as
actually
one
some
thing.
concern because there's a limitation that it can't be used to reduce debt either. And in a sense, you know, we're doing that.
No, it can't be used, right, to pay
Yeah,
debt.
the developers.
Right,
Right, but
Yeah.
it can be used for a sewer force main project.
right, and that's where it's being applied.
Yeah,
John,
and
you
I
have
will
something?
give a,
It's more a dig than anything.
oh, great.
Oh,
I had a rough night.
Could end the night.
How
with
much
it.
of this 2 million is to basically fix the soil that the committee didn't want to look at in the first place?
Yeah, I think you brought this up last night.
You couldn't afford
know.
to look.
Yeah,
If you're
We knew
looking
it
to
was there.
see, you gotta pay for it. Don't look.
I
John, the
I'm-
fact is the project can't be completed without this additional
No,
money.
no.
Right.
I'm not saying that I won't vote for it.
Yeah,
What I'm saying though is, and it's been something I've said a number of times, we get these committees to do these buildings. And whether it's terrible boilers at the the police department, or it's some of these other issues where stuff either breaks down well before it should, or things have a tendency to suddenly build up, which is why I asked, I think, the last time, is this going to be the last time the DPW asks for money for the building?
right.
I hope it is.
It's a case
if we
where,
cut back on anything, it sure as heck won't be. Like, there's a plan to, we'll use the old building. Well, that means we'll be looking at replacing that old building.
Yeah.
I mean, if we peel back on things, we can be penny wise and pound foolish is something we've got to really watch for with these particular buildings.
But it's the game. All right, that's what I'm hearing. The argument here is, actually, you said it, Rick. We're stuck. We have to do this now, or else the whole project goes, or it's a boiler, or it's a right. So if I ignore certain things, or I don't include them in the initial estimate of work, and then we're already into it, then I can come back for another 500 million, 5 million, because what are you going to do? Lose 30 million that you already invested in the
In for a
project?
dime.
You
for a
should have
dime.
done
Yeah,
your
but
due
you're making
diligence.
it seem like that might have been intentional.
No, but
It's the cost
it's-
of projects right now is
Yeah.
astronomical. I mean,
but the problem
you
is,
can't
That
forecast
one-
the building climate.
No.
You know what I mean?
But the soil is different than the cost of the project. The soil was kind of, there were enough people in town that know where the brownfields
Right.
are. You know what I
But
mean?
the soil was a portion of the
Right,
over.
yeah, it's not that's not the total.
think
That's
the
not
brown-
why that the price is going up that much. It's
No.
because of the construction market.
Correct.
And that's the,
I
You know,
actually
the
thought it was
building-
soil. I
Yeah.
have to confess, I thought
A lot
we
of
were
people
told
don't
it was
think
$3 million to
All
clean up.
because of the
Well, they-
soil, yeah.
Okay.
there is a significant amount of money and we don't even know the final cost. They're still doing testing. So
Does it matter though? I mean,
we have an
want this
obligation to clean it up.
yeah, I mean,
And if we don't build the building, we still clean it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's been discovered now.
Yeah.
can somebody,
And we always,
Can
apparently
somebody
it was always
explain-
known that it was there.
the idea of pretending that there are different options to the public. Like, do we not want to tell hard truths? Like, guys, if you don't build this, you don't have a middle school, you can't do that, or we have to clean up polluted soil in town, you just can't leave it there to leak into waters and ruin.
You look where it is.
Yeah, I mean,
You want to talk pollution?
you can,
What about
like,
over at
like-
Whitman Tool and Die?
yeah, like,
Over by,
that's what they'll say. What the guy with the
you
three
know,
heads will say.
that's got to catch some people's eyes. That's,
Let's
you
not
know,
build anything
I
there.
don't want to get off track, but
What
We don't want to
happened?
build anything there.
What did you
We
say?
don't want to build anything there.
Where we go?
all that soil at Whitman Tool and Die, is that what it is? Or the foundry over there?
Castings.
Over by, yeah.
Yeah.
Over by O'Toole's?
All of the metal.
Give a shit.
All right.
I'm kidding. I don't know.
All right, so let's, we have
What's the
a,
question?
we have a motion, we
Question.
have a motion and we have a second?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor of Article 15? It is unanimous. Okay. That does it for the warrant.
Oh, I'm sorry. The source. Nope. Can you do one not
Oh
unanimous?
my, you screwed
Because
up.
it was a source. Sorry about that.
710.
Yeah, 7. It still doesn't go to free cash.
Oh, okay.
710 on
Right,
Article
is that right?
15.
It's not
Article
it, no.
15?
No, forget about it, I do it.
This one is not.
You don't get 2 bites here.
It's ARPA.
It's,
I get 3, but you don't get 3 bites of the apple.
It's what
We're going back to 8-0.
8-0, ARPA.
Yep, it's ARPA, forget about it,
Yeah.
since it's ARPA.
creative financing even.
Thank you, Mary Beth, for all
Thanks,
of
Mary.
this
Thank you.
information.
For trying.
Yes, anything else for Mary Beth while we have her here so we can send her on her way?
No, you beat me up
Oh,
pretty
yes.
good.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
oh
we
no, I
did.
just want one thing. I do want one thing. Oh, I wrote it to you in a text message.
In a text?
Not, I think I tried
While
to
she's
call
looking
today.
that up, how about the recorder? Joe was lost when I got here.
Oh, yes.
Well, we've been using this one,
Oh,
so
okay.
we can continue using it, but whenever you get a
Oh, yeah.
chance. Yeah.
You have to just sign for it. They're all there, ready to
Okay.
go.
Oh, there's a recorder.
And we haven't got anybody to either authorize our recording secretary to post the meeting on the website or anybody to do it.
But actually, I'm gonna just email it to you, Kathy.
Yeah, we get the backup.
For
We
that.
got the backup for the free recording devices as was
Yeah.
mentioned at the town meeting.
Yep.
It wasn't gonna cost
I know,
anything.
Yeah, these free
Yep.
devices.
$1,500. So 1455.60 to be exact.
If we
Yeah.
told the public it was going to be free and it didn't end up being free, don't you think we should go back to the public and say something?
Well,
We
yeah.
told it was gonna be completely free.
November 30th.
We'll have Frank do it. Good night, guys. Thank you for coming.
And that was
The
another
water
thing.
started to get hot.
Usually when something's voted and you decide not to do it, you rescind a vote. Like we vote for something here, we rescind a vote. The money for the roof at Duval should have been rescinded. And the money should have gone back in.
Yeah, well, we went over that already.
But no,
That
we didn't
goes
go over the
back.
rescinded vote. And the money should have all gone
I
back.
believe patchwork has been, some of that
It
has
has.
been used.
There's been
Yes, I know.
ongoing
It was,
utilization of the funds.
It shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't be how it happened.
We know.
Well,
We
But you
we
can
talked about it.
reuse it for something with a vote, and it was all with votes.
It all came back to a vote of the
Yeah.
tax.
They're creating pockets of money in
I mean,
strange
you know,
places.
it's because this money was in open articles for so long, you know, I mean, usually it's not that long. When you look at all these articles,
Each year, okay, you're not gonna use it next year, rescind the vote, put it back to the town.
Build it into the motion. You have X amount of time to complete this work, or you have to, or the money's rescinded
But the-
and you have to reapply. I mean, it's the same thing that you see in business. right?
This is
So-
where I'm at.
But you have to write the warrants to
But
say that, to make
if
the
I were to
motion.
do, in business, if I were
I
to
think,
get money allocated for something and then spend it in different ways.
You wouldn't be working there anymore.
Yeah, even if I came back and go, maybe I can do this,
Actually, they have clawback clauses. They'll take it out of your pay.
but I think the work was completed on many of these articles, it just wasn't
oh, we're just
submitted.
talking about the roof, the only.
Oh,
the
oh,
only-
okay.
We're just referring
It's
to.
always been a sore spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big source.
Yeah,
Oh,
FYI,
sorry.
the school is looking at $1.4 million for the Duval roof pending MSBA approval in, I forget what year it is, but that's in their capital matrix. Like, yay, is that
Yeah.
30% of the value of Duval? Are we gonna have to handicap access Duval and fire protect Duval?
Well, I don't think
Yes,
it's.
you
I don't
see-
think it's 30% of the value.
Not,
Let's
yeah,
hope it's not.
Yeah.
If it goes past the value.
Almost.
the original.
Can we just finish with Mary
Yes.
Beth, and we'll have these conversations at another time. So the only things that I have wrote down, the communication with the Hanson Town Administrator on the audit for the district.
Yes, so I sent the audit agreement, you know, to the Board of Selectmen, and one item, item 6, was for the auditor to look at the town of Hanson for all their capital articles. And so why not look at the capital articles for Whitman as well? So it was 15,000, and they added on 2,000 to look at the Whitman side. And I said, well, we are splitting everything that's in this audit, so I only want to pay half of the new price.
That's right.
And Lisa was thinking that she was going to pay 75 and we were going to pay 95. And I'm like, my
Nope.
math doesn't work that way.
Why?
So,
Because it's
right.
not an aggregate model.
Because
that's
it
why.
got added on for Whitman, but I said, no. I split right down the middle on this. Everything else is the same for both towns.
Right.
So it's 8,500. She sent me today the revised. I just need to talk to the selectmen on that, but they were all on board with the audit. So instead of 7,500 for the town,
Can you
it would be
include their
8,500.
capital school account in that? And we don't have one, and the law on capital school accounts requires us both to have them and to both be
We
contributed.
had one at Capitol and
No,
they closed it.
We closed
they
it and
closed
merged it, and they currently still have it, and that's not in sync with the law. They're supposed to have it aggregately to ours, and they don't. They have ours don't. We don't have anything in it, and then they have one that is significantly in play, and that's also supposed to be voted on and utilized by the school committee, not them. Their accountant says that they control it and use it. That's not the law.
So I don't know that Hans is gonna wanna go back and add anything else to
I
this
think I
scope
agree.
of work
Yeah,
at this time, but,
yeah, because there was some other items that we would have preferred to be in the scope too, but that's, if the warrant article is pretty much already written, right, for the scope of the audit.
not the
The contract.
contract
Contract, right.
is written,
Okay,
right. And then
Okay.
we're using ARPA funds for that.
very good.
One quick question.
Sure.
Is there finally somebody who's taking this project on?
Mark Abrams.
Oh, okay, I saw that.
Yeah.
That's why.
Who made the presentation.
Correct, and so they wanna get going on it
All
while
right.
he's still available, so as soon as and I'm sure the selectmen
He
won't
made
have
the
a problem.
presentation in Hanson.
Okay, oh, is that why I saw his name in here?
Probably.
Yeah.
Right,
the backup.
it was just his
It was
name.
the backup,
Right,
yeah.
Oh,
And I was like,
Yeah, it was his name. I was like, what's
really?
this guy?
yeah, it's in the backup somewhere in
It
here.
just says his name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the only other thing is the posting meeting minutes. Have we determined that neither the clerk's department nor technology will post our meeting minutes because it's taking up too many resources?
They have both said no, and I had a meeting with Josh, and I said it's IT, it's technology. You know, I think that you could upload it very quickly.
Very quickly.
Or Steve could.
Steve.
And he said, nope. He said, I said, then you have to prepare a document, which we have with each recorder, on the steps on how to do it. And I put right on there to call technology if you have any questions. And if they get several calls, they may find it easy.
So our
just to
recording
post it.
secretary has access to the
Do
town
I have
website.
that?
You will have, it's with the recorder, the instructions, and it was emailed out as well.
That's for the recorder. I'm talking about our final meeting minutes to be posted to the town's website.
Oh, meeting minutes, not the
Meeting-
audio.
Yeah.
Nope.
Not the audio, I'm sorry.
More what the public needs than what they're gonna get is the meeting minutes that have been approved and finalized.
So the assessors gives them to the clerk after
give them to the
every
clerk
meeting?
too?
Okay,
Yeah.
and do they not post them for you?
No,
They're
they
not, nobody posts them. It's so much easier. You go to the website, there's agendas. You can pull up our agendas for 20 years. You can't pull up any meeting minutes because they won't upload them. It's such a one keystroke, as Mike said. It would take, the clerk's office is already posting our agendas. There's no reason they can't post our final meeting minutes.
Okay.
Because that's way better than the recording on YouTube.
Yeah, the recording.
We actually have a piece of the website that says Finance Committee reports or whatever.
Yeah, it's a meeting minute.
Blank.
And
And it's empty.
there's one or two things. Now, we insisted 2 years ago.
They put a couple things in there.
Yeah, and one made it.
Right. So either or, they either the clerk's office or technology has got to post a meeting minutes. It's so ridiculous that nobody wants to do this.
So every month, every meeting, you send it to the clerk, is that correct?
Yeah, electronically.
Electronically?
No, it's
We can't.
not sent. I can, yes,
You can.
most certainly I can. I give it to her in a paper
In a
form,
paper
signed
form?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I can definitely.
As soon as our
Yeah.
meeting minutes are finalized, they can be emailed right to the
They go to
clerk's
the
office.
clerk.
And they could click, it's on the website, just like our postings.
Now, I did ask technology if they could have training for putting stuff up on the website for the different departments. They had training, it was probably 10 years ago. Most of the department heads have turned over. And so Josh said, well, I said, can't you and Steve do the training? But he was looking into having Civic Plus come out and do a training session on how to do it.
Okay.
So I
How
One
much
way or
will
the
that
other.
cost? Was that part of? Will that cost extra to have it?
it will cost extra to have that done.
Okay,
It's in his budget.
it's
Yeah.
in his budget.
It better be.
I
We just gave him how much millions?
we gave him a lot of
We had
money
another.
to turn around and tell us, I don't want to do it the way we're being asked. You just said, hey, Josh, can you do this?
Have a
And he said,
training session.
no.
Well,
Well,
I
that's
asked him
the
if he could get us some training,
Vote.
because many of the department heads have changed over. So The people who were trained 10 years ago are not.
Did he train them 10 years ago?
No, I think we did have Civic Plus come in.
Okay, well,
We
that's
did.
different.
We had Civic Plus come in. So I said, get me a number then, because what good is it if Dawn, who's pretty savvy with the website, can't figure out how to do some of the tasks that she needs to do? If she can't do it, the less techie people are really going to
Be in trouble.
I have an issue with it.
Okay, so
Okay.
so if this is already a past practice,
We did have Civic Plus come in and do the initial training.
okay.
So I said, get me a price.
That's your guy. Enjoy.
All right, is this your
You tell us what you
your
think.
first page?
Give me the note.
That is my, it did.
Oh boy, good thing you got it
You
back.
volunteer your time.
All right, anything else from Mary Beth? Thank you very much for coming.
Yes.
I tell you, I'm gonna maybe take back my first statement. I didn't want to touch stabilization. Heck, it would have been a heck of a lot easier to transfer
true.
them over from stabilization.
Sorry.
But
But stabilization
terms
end
of-
up broke, zero if we can't transfer
if the
that.
money
that's
is
what I
there.
mean, and then we'd have to transfer it back. So I didn't want to touch that.
But the money is there. It's not going to disappear.
Would have been there anyways.
It's going to be there anyways. Is it going to affect any other ability to borrow? Is it going to affect anything to do that? If it's temporarily utilized, will we wait for free cash?
I'm glad you did it this way.
I know exactly, because stabilization should be something that people know we never touch.
Right,
yeah.
It's rainy day money, and we never
We
touch it.
technically had the money, it just didn't have the name on it. And I guess my point is, when we're doing calculations for the 40 to 60% of the free cash, we don't really have a true value of free cash now. We'll have to calculate what we've already used towards.
Yeah, you could do that
Yeah.
easy enough. And even last year,
Okay,
that
then
was to
maybe if we're-
transfer, and we can't transfer. I mean, we couldn't transfer last year.
I guess we'd be really careful about making sure we're keeping within those financial parameters.
Right.
And we're calculating that pre-used free cash,
This is
essentially.
something, this money that washed back is something that has always happened. But with, not just the district, but with any article. When it gets down to the end, people certify it, it goes to free cash. I guess I'm just bringing a spotlight to.
Yeah, I think you
The,
did.
the questions are coming up because I'm using this source, although the last thing I wanted to do was use.
But then again, here we are, October special town meeting, not a
True,
December.
not a December. It would have been right.
We
A bit
probably,
easier.
hopefully
Would've
we
been
won't be
easier
having
in
any
December.
October special town meetings
Anymore. The last time.
Well, it was
we-
all related to the fact
I have
that we
to
needed
say
to have a
no to
vote for
everything.
the school.
for the school.
You beat me up pretty good.
I'm
there,
sorry.
Cindy. Let me tell you.
I'll
some
make
rest.
it up. I'll make
I'm
it up.
exhausted. All right.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Don't curse
All
too
right,
much.
so we're going to go to our September 19th meeting minutes. If you could locate them, if you have marked up a copy. Elizabeth has prepared printed versions. We're going to start September 19th, 2023. We're going to page 633 is the first page. So basically called to order, new business. We talked about the warrant. Mary Beth presented a draft copy. Again, it was very much in draft form. I had no edits on the page 633. Anybody have anything? Okay, 634, I also had no edits. Still talking about the warrant and then into talking about ARPA utilization on page 634. Anybody, anything for change? Okay, page 635, in the first paragraph, the third line down, the sentence reads, "The first time FinCom heard about the $550,000 used for the purchase of an ambulance was tonight. They had no say on this large purchase." So I thought maybe that was just a little bit of a stretch, because we really did have information about the fact that an ambulance was being purchased with ARPA. So I would like to see if we could amend that sentence to say that the taxpayers were never made aware about the purchase of the most recent ambulance or the most recent purchase of an ambulance, as ARPA was not listed on the warrant as a funding source. So in changing that sentence to that sentence, it just sounds a little better, because Are we in agreement that the finance committee really did know we were having an ambulance paid with ARPA funds?
We did.
We didn't have any input in it at all. That part is definitely true. But I think we want to send a message that the real reason that we have exception with it is because if we have an appropriation from ARPA and it's during town meeting, at least the taxpayer should know.
Should be told.
Yeah.
They don't even know we have a new ambulance because there was nothing on that warrant about it because it was ARPA funds. So
I remember asking, don't we put a certain amount of money away each year from the ambulance receipts into this slush fund is a bad phrase, for a new ambulance, so
Right.
that we're not paying.
reserve for appropriation
Yeah,
ambulance.
reserve for
right.
appropriation, and the answer is, yeah, we have that account, but we didn't need to use that because ARPA paid for it. So we
Right.
were aware,
We were aware, right?
but town
yeah.
meeting
But
wasn't.
town meeting, Devin never knew. So did you get that,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, about changing that? Okay. And then down on the 5/8 of the way down where it says Public Work Department Building Committee, it just the next meeting says October 10th, but actually was October 3rd. Because October 10th was today.
It says the next FinCon meeting is October 10th.
Oh, the next FinCom meeting, then that is correct. Sorry, I thought it was the next DPW committee meeting. That's correct, no change necessary. Anybody else have anything on page 635?
I do.
Rosemary.
I have the last paragraph. It said, Conley is concerned that the windfall of money, the Chapter 70 money, and it says, she clarified the legislation is to put in place to meet the needs of not of the taxpayers. It's put in place to meet the needs of the of our citizens. So to meet legislations of the news. So it's, how do I word this? It's put in place so we have, say, more ESL children, and they're going to cost us more. The state offsets that cost with legislative money because the law requires us to meet more of a cost. They sort of subsidize it to some degree.
That was a run-on sentence.
So I'm just going to say,
Where are my periods? I didn't see that.
no, I'm trying to find a shorter way to say this.
Don't let her
Yeah,
write the next
that's it.
warrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote the last warrant, guys. Okay, back, focus here, guys. In. So basically, the needs of the,
Low
really of
income and ELL
students.
I wouldn't say, yeah.
The needs of students.
Needs of
I
students.
like that one, Mike. Needs of students.
Not very simple, right? Students, are you good?
Is how
Influence
this
the
money
taxpayers.
needs to be spent. Exactly.
I like that.
It's not a windfall. See, this is why I collected mine. It would have been a huge run-on paragraph to get sentence. I did it.
All right. Anything else on that page 635?
Am I keeping the windfall sentence though? right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Just
not a
changing the
windfall.
word taxpayers.
Essentially, it's students.
Okay, and then final page 636, I think there was just a tenth a word. There is no real number for chapter 70 until this happens instead of R. Or you could change the number to numbers.
Or there are no real numbers.
Numbers.
So numbers or change R to is.
American agreement.
Where did I write that?
Last page.
There's no real numbers for chapter 70?
There is no real number for Chapter 7
Oh,
until
there
the governor's
is, there
budget
is.
is passed. Putting two thoughts together.
Yeah.
School budget will not be confirmed until the governor submits her budget. There is no real number for Chapter 70 until this happens.
So it's just a is to the R. Or a number to numbers, either way,
Either way.
you prefer. Okay, anything else on that page?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept
Move the minutes.
Second.
it was amended. We have a motion and a second, all in favor? It is unanimous, except
Chuck is
Ralph.
abstaining,
I abstained. I was not here.
There's 2 abstains.
Okay, thank you.
so
September 9th.
5-0,
Oh, so
Chuck.
you actually should on the first page then put Chuck in absence.
I missed you guys last week.
Oh, we missed you too.
we did.
On the
It
first
felt
page.
empty. Felt the soul.
He's not listed as absent.
gone.
Oh, wait a minute. Absent, Ralph Mitchell, Chuck, yep, no,
Yeah,
he is. He is, sorry. Okay, so that's it for the meeting minutes. Looking at the agenda, meeting recording status, we covered that with Mary Beth. Subcommittee reports, capital committee,
I already told you
you
how we
get
voted.
all the votes from that. Regional Agreement Amendment Committee,
We're gonna meet next month and hopefully a Hanson Select person will show up.
okay.
Can I ask a question about this? are you gonna handle the busing? Because
Yes.
because the busing still is when we first came into this committee and we brought it to the school, we gave them the best proposition for the schools: do it as it's written in the law, right? As is written. And they came back, or our citizens came into this with the Galvin Cave method, and it went into the news and it did everything. It ended up being fraud, guys. Fraud. And we still are out there taking advice from these same people who put forward fraud, not what the finance committee put forward or requested. And now you're in a position, our person is in a non-voting position, still trying to advocate. How many, a year and a half later?
Chris Scriven is the new chair of the Regional Agreement Committee instead of Chris Howard. So we have a Whitman chair instead of a Hanson chair who totally ignored me. And the financial aspects of the busing absolutely will be addressed at the Regional Agreement Committee. Because nothing's going to get passed if they don't change it.
And this is another thing I'm really concerned about. Busing, just at the meetings, they keep saying, we're going to get smaller buses and it's not going to cost us more. We're going to get more drivers and it's not going to cost us more. Can somebody tell me how that math works out? How did they talk those guys into having a decreased salary in this job market? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's not something, it's over procurement in terms of what Whitman needs. And it does not meet, so the law says an hour on the bus, and they're complaining about 45 minutes on the bus. You don't have to consider anything for over an hour. So they are within the parameters, and we're going into lemon towels and foot rub area. If you don't want your kid on the bus, drive them to school. But we provide a bus within the parameters of the law, and Whitman shouldn't have to pay more because you don't like the 45 minutes. I'm sorry, it stinks. My kid was on the bus for 45 minutes, but I drove her.
Make your choice.
Yeah, make your choice. This is what busing is
Okay,
now.
so it's gonna be discussed, right? All right, the middle school building committee and the public works department building committee both are covered, I think, from the discussion we had on the warrant. And we did mention the warrant, the audit for the district to Mary Beth. It sounds like it's finally underway. That's been a standing line item for our, at least 3 years.
Yeah,
Many years.
way too long.
Okay, so other business, communications, we have none. Town administrator gave updates. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring up under other business, new business?
I would just like to restate, everybody does good work, but I want to, point out Kathy, who's really taken on a lot this past summer.
She does have a lot on her plate.
And I know you make informed decisions. You take a lot of information in. I kind of knew what was going on, but your explanation helps me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate everything you've been doing.
Thanks.
Very good.
Can I
Point
add
well
on to
taken.
that one? I hope that Kathy, in the past, the capital committee has been chaired because it has to be a it's a part of the finance committee, the capital committee, and it is vital that we handle. These are our largest bills, essentially. It's vital that it's financially in sync with a plan. And I'm really concerned at some of the things you've said tonight that we haven't been following any sort of plan. And it looks, if you read the agendas, they've had the same agendas for the last 3. Why is it our finance committee member, for the first time ever, not the chair of that committee?
Well, she will be probably at some point, I imagine.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Kathy.
I'm vice chair of the middle school.
I'm going to keep up our relationship and where I get roped into things.
Are you happy you're retired
Yes.
or not?
Hey, Mike, you're retired. We get you roped
No,
into
I'm
things.
not.
No, he had to go back to work. He was bored.
Wife got you back in, huh? Rick was supposed to be retired too. But
I am. I'm more retired than you would think now.
Yeah.
So one more thing for Elizabeth, the schedule for the meeting, right? You're just going to revise the liaisons?
I did revise it. My computer died. I will email it when I get home.
Okay.
Thank you.
So everybody look for the new schedule so we can look at the the next meeting, so we don't have another meeting until, we're already posted for town meeting, so. And you won't be there, so you, gonna leave the recorder?
I'll leave the report.
Are you the new fire liaison?
I don't remember.
Okay,
No, I believe Mike
Mike is.
is fire department and IT.
I think that's right.
What?
Didn't you have a meeting?
He wants me to come look at the projects that he's done at the fire station. So if you wanna come with
I
me.
think that's a capital
To
thing.
see what the fire chief has done? When? Because yes, I do. I want to know what he did with that $40,000.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the sort of thing that the
What was so
capital has to
important, he had to lie about it. Yeah, yeah,
I don't
so
think it's lying. I think
we'll
this is
set
where we
something
have
up for next
capital.
week?
Yes.
Does that work out for you?
Yes.
This is where we have
I'll call
capital
him tomorrow.
in the budgets that I keep saying. This is the hidden capital that I said to Mary Beth. That building's 100 years old. I mean, we're not looking just at this building, these two schools. We're looking at capital pushed off. And many of our buildings are going to come in the next couple of years. We have to think about that.
Don't forget the one that's boarded up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't want to
Something
be
to
risking
that.
another building. I mean,
It's a liability.
All right, people,
All right, motion to adjourn.
always in order. All in favor?
Yep,
All opposed, have no vote.
Who seconded it?
me,
Everybody.
everyone.